But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
I don't know if it was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and I'm here with my good friend, our good friend, Derek the Nightstocker from Massachusetts, and we'd like to say hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Wednesday night, hump day, and we are doing the things we always do. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. Troubled Minds comes at you. And what is it we do? Well, we talk about all the things you're not allowed to talk about, right? You can't talk about aliens around the water cooler. You'll get fired. HR will call you up to the office faster than you can say, WTF just happened. I just wanted to talk about aliens from Alpha Centauri. Is that so wrong? Well, that is what we do. We talk about all those things we can't talk about, including, of course, aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. As always, we're doing this live to include you because we're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, D-Live, and Twitter. We are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM and taking your phone calls. Now, I always say this, I don't have any inside sources or any of the rest of that. I'm just reading propaganda news cycles in a disgusted manner, just like you are, and trying to figure things out. And as I always say, this is not the answer show, it's the question show. And what that means is that the secret weapon of Trouble Minds is you. We ask some questions, we sort of get the conversation going, and you guys call in and talk. And so we're going to start there, and if you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. You can talk to myself, you can talk to the Nightstocker, and et cetera, so on. Real quick, before we say hi to him, two things real fast. Please also join the Discord at troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. The phone number is also on top. You can't miss it, of the website there. And also join the Fringe Discord at fringe.fm/chat. That will give you a direct invite. And I'm watching both those places. I'm watching all the chat and all the areas, and trying to keep up with you guys and all your thoughts. And no, I'm not an alien or a robot. I just try really hard. And there you go. One final thing, please download the Fringe app. And of course, you can find it at Android or the Apple app stores, completely free, and it's the easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds. Just fire up the app at exactly 7 p.m. Pacific time, Monday through Thursday, and you get me, and you get you, and you get a conversation. And tonight, you get the Nightstocker as well. What's up, Derek? Are you there? Test 1, 2.
Yo. What's happening, Mike?
Chilling,
glad to
man.
be here. It's gonna be a fun one tonight.
Yeah, glad to have you. This is again Derek the Nightstocker. Many of you know him. If you do not, he's a, what would you call it? A mover and a shaker in the UFO community, but not just UFOs. Consciousness. Just this whole idea that UFOs and consciousness are kind of in this weird space right now. In that the old days back in the 50s, they used to describe UFOs as UFOs, and not so much anymore. They've changed the term from UFO of unidentified flying object to UAP, which is unidentified aerial phenomenon. Now, the weird part about that is they removed object, and so removing the object, it sort of lets us maybe speculate that some of these things may not be physical objects at all, but I don't know, maybe spiritual objects or plasma orbs or blobs, or like we've talked about nature spirits and all kinds of wacky stuff. But anyway, please give Nightstocker a follow. He's got a YouTube channel. It's just a trailer right now, but let's inspire him to make some more amazing stuff because, like I said, good friend of mine, always with amazing hot takes. And this show tonight is a credit to his brilliance. So if you like this conversation, it's all Derek, and I'm just here for the ride. So, Derek, want anything to add to that? And what's going on, man?
Oh, man. All right. Yeah, again, just glad to be here. Really excited. I'm not a professional, everybody, so if you don't know me, I mean, if you know me, you'll know that I'm a rambler, and you're probably used to it by this point. My stuttering and meandering way of talking. But if not, just try to tolerate me through this. But I'm excited to be here, and I want to hear all your takes. So please call in for all your takes. But as far as like what we're going to talk about, I consider myself to be like a synchro mystic, and like that's kind of trying to look at the zeitgeist, trying to look at where ideas are moving, and seeing where they come from. Who are the ones who were kind of creating these ideas, whether people or something even weirder than that. Where are these ideas sprouting from, and where are they taking us? Where is like culture going? Who's creating the culture, and kind of what it means for our consciousness, especially if these things we're dealing with have such a direct connection with our consciousness. That's all very, very important. And we found ourselves in a pretty important UFO year, pretty important alien year when it comes to the UFO community. And I didn't realize it till this past weekend. Like you had that like answer show on Saturday, which was fun. Everybody should go check that one out. And earlier that day, I had watched the Heaven's Gate documentary that ABC 2020 came out with the day before. And I didn't I had heard of Heaven's Gate. I knew it was the UFO alien cult and stuff, but I didn't realize that it was the 25th anniversary. It's also the 25th anniversary of the Phoenix Lights. It's the 75th anniversary this summer of the Roswell crash and all that kind of stuff. So we find ourselves in this weird nexus of kind of looking back at the history of UFOlogy and all that kind of stuff, what we talk about when we talk about aliens and UFOs, and then what we've talked about the last like year or so on this show, and all the weirdness tied with the alien phenomena, with the UFO phenomena, and kind of like what that means for the narratives, what that means for the conversation, and kind of where we're going. So I want all the takes. I don't want it to be just me talking about this rambling stuff. I want to hear like what people think about all this kind of stuff, So please call in tonight. That's all I ask.
Exactly. So we got some. So we're starting there with sort of this. That I like the idea of this synchro mystic, and then back to that M. Night Shyamalan Signs. I love that movie where kind of the question in that movie is, do you believe everything happens for a reason, or do you think that everything is just sort of random and it's just people bouncing around and kind of these random things are not planned at all? And that's sort of the question tonight a little bit as we get going, just in terms of, do you think that there is sort of this nexus spot like Derek's describing in if you give it again 75-year anniversary this summer, it's in July of Roswell. Of course, everybody's familiar with the Roswell UFO crash. It's the one that kind of kicked off in 1947, basically like I guess you would say the UFO mania that's sort of gripped the country ever since and has changed and evolved. But then also this same idea that within a week of each other, 25 years ago, we do have the Heaven's Gate thing where they had that mass suicide, and they were waiting for the UFO that was hiding behind the Hale-Bopp comet to come pick them up and take them to Ascension. And then within that same week, 25 years ago, we have exactly like he said, the Phoenix Lights. And of course, that's probably the single most famous modern UFO sighting because thousands of people witnessed these lights and nobody knows what the heck it still is. Some people say it's a psyop. Some people say it was, some sort of military testing of maybe one of our UFOs. Other people claim that it was an actual extraterrestrial UFO, and they were just kind of coming to check us out. Maybe like a pleasure cruise over Phoenix or something. So
exactly.
Yeah. So who knows what's really going on with this? And so it kind of lends to this other idea of not just back to, like I said when we started, 1947 in Roswell, and they used to be objects, but now they are UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena. So the question for you guys tonight is this, as it begins: how come we've changed the term recently? All right, UFO to UAP, number one. Two, do you think it has anything to do with the fact that UFOs in particular aren't like the classical description, little green men flying around nuts and bolts saucers or cigars or Tic Tacs or what have you, but instead some version of, I don't know, like an interdimensional contact of maybe an alien consciousness from elsewhere? And then three, how come this has changed so abruptly in probably the last 10 years or so? It's like things have really turned on its head. And I mean, you can't deny that even with like, the Lou Elizondo stuff and TTSA and, this whole sort of disclosure press, like a full court press right now, which we didn't have at all 10 years ago. Suddenly it seems like they're stomping on the gas to do something. And what exactly is that something? And is it changing? So that's the questions for you guys tonight as we get going. And what we're going to talk about is not just that, but this idea of, and I've talked about them recently, these sort of UFO cults that are popping up, right? It seems like almost every day we have a new influencer in the UFO space, and that's fine. I'm not trying to be any kind of gatekeeper at all, but these individuals that kind of come out of nowhere have experiences. They're experiencers. And so they have, what would you say? They've met aliens, or they've had a UFO encounter, and somehow, some way, now they have all the answers. And well, I think just with that said, we have the makings of some new UFO cults. But instead, it may be on Twitter or something. But instead, so we're going to go back a little ways and look at some of the UFO cults of the past, including that Heaven's Gate and some of this other super weird stuff, and kind of just kick it off from there. And as always, looking to hear your thoughts on this. Why do you think it has changed? We've had this sea change in ufology regarding not just UFOs to UAP and this whole idea that it's not flying saucers anymore, it's consciousness. Stephen Greer with what's it called, the CE5, which is a Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, is being able to actually summon these flying saucers or UAP through meditation. And so we'll get into some of that tonight. But how come it has changed? It literally in the last 10 years, things have turned on its head, including some of these new cults. Well, let's start with the old cults. Where do you want to start, Derek?
Yeah, well, no, it's great breakdown. Yeah, so just still to kind of stick with the intro here. Like we find ourselves in this weird nexus of events, like not just in the UFO stuff, just we're living in strange times, obviously, like in everything, and just the world. There's like, guys, we're living in some type of moment, and like having this realization that we're also in some type of like UFO moment, like these anniversaries, like synchronistically all happening around the same time, and then also the fact that the government recently is talking about UFOs. Like UFOs are in the mainstream, and then as we get into these cults talking about the beliefs, these strange beliefs of these cults, we're going to come to see like how strange are they? Like they're weird to read about, but when we read them, we're going to realize that a lot of these beliefs have permeated themselves into what could be considered like mainstream ufology, and how weird that is, and what that means for where we're headed. What that means for the cult of ufology, so to speak. And how it's all intertwined and all this kind of stuff. And then also just we lately have been talking about all the extra stuff. What are the UFOs? Are they craft? Are they from space? Are they demons? Are they interdimensional? Are they some type of trickster? And are they something that we can't even really describe? And we're a little ahead of the curve, but we'll get into this next type of stuff. But those conversations, those ideas are now being interjected into this conversation by these same people, by the cult of UFO, if you will. So where are we headed? What's that going to mean? What's that going to mean when the paranormal and the ufology come together? Like what does that mean for how the cult of UFO looks? And what do you guys think? Have you tried CE5? Have you summoned a UFO? Like that was one of the weirdest parts about like as we get into this and stuff, when we talk about all the crazy stuff that Heaven's Gate did and all these cults did and stuff in the 90s, they were in the 70s, like when they all really started, when the era of the New Age cults, spiritual cults, they didn't see UFOs. Like maybe the leader had some experience, or maybe the leader considers themselves to be some type of prophet. Most of these people, like everyone that killed themselves in the Heaven's Gate cult, none of them actually saw a UFO ever. But I mean, how many people listening right now have seen a UFO? It's a good amount of them. And then now we have something like in the mainstream, celebrities, like the mainstream UFO communities, with some type of protocols in order to actually contact UFOs at will, you know? So that's what it's crazy. And with that comes a whole new level of cult behavior and just crazy weirdness, you know? And then like also with that, what are they actually contacting? What are we bringing in? What are we inviting in to our reality, like to our consciousness? Is it what it claims to be, or is it something else, something more sinister, something that comes with more weird phenomena than we've been talking about recently, which is represented in the change from UFO to UAP, from object to phenomena. That's what it's all about. What is the phenomena? What do you think the phenomena is? You know, what's a UFO? Like what? I don't know. I want to hear it all. I want to like come with your craziest, your weirdest UFO takes. Let's bring it tonight. This is the culmination of like I've just been thinking about this. I feel like for like a year straight now, and this is kind of like symbol. Like this is kind of just like getting it all off my chest. So now I can kind of move on to maybe a different idea. You know, onto the next web of synchronicities. But let's get it all out there. Let's make this an epic UFO weirdness show tonight. I'm excited.
Definitely. Okay, so looking at some of these UFO cults that we talked about in the past, and how this we sort of had this change from the object to the phenomenon, right? And not only that, that's the term people are using now. They're calling it the phenomena, meaning that it's become something that's not really extraterrestrial at all. It's becoming something that's a lot less, let's say, easily definable. And so they're even like sort of, you know, back to the Skinwalker Ranch stuff for a little bit. They're talking about that in terms of maybe this idea of this maybe UFO hotspot on Earth is not anything to do with UFOs at all. It's something else. It's back to portals, back to some sort of maybe sacred spot where we have, who knows what's going on over there with maybe electromagnetics, or again, we talked about the source waters underneath. We've talked about all kinds of stuff here.
Exactly.
But what is really going on in these spots, right? And is this really the same conversation? Because it seems like the more that we've talked about it on this show, the more things just seem to blend together. It doesn't seem in any capacity that we're like, okay, you know, let's go back to Little Green Men of 1948. No. It does seem to be back to Skinwalker Ranch and, you know, that hitchhiker effect, that sort of thing. Yeah. In that they say that kind of when you poke the stick into the hornet's nest, and this is the proverbial UFO hornet's nest, that something will follow you home. And it's not, of course, it wouldn't be Little Green Men, would it? It would be some sort of haunting. And so we get to this bizarre point now where this idea of the phenomena, whatever it is, and multiple things all sort of merged together, and we're literally talking about space poltergeists, right? I mean,
exactly.
I mean, that's what we get. Yeah, and it seems to kind of just all roll together, which is super weird. So what we're going to talk about as we get going tonight is there are all these old UFO cults, actual older UFO religions, which you may or may not be aware of. And some of these I did know, but of course Derek, dropping the knowledge, sent me a bunch of links, and I was like, damn, I haven't even heard of half of this stuff. But a lot of this has been going on for years, and not just years. We're talking about like multiple decades, back to like the 1950s, and you can trace even some of this back further than that. So the question is, okay, so where do we start there? Just to maybe a rundown of what some of these cults are, what they believe, and then we can get into maybe the actual Heaven's Gate after the bottom of the hour. What do you think, man?
Yeah. So first, just on what you just said with the Skinwalker Ranch, and kind of how this strangeness is kind of coming into the UFO field and stuff. Like it seems like we talked about this just as kind of an intro. Like we talked about this in the voice chat yesterday or a couple of days ago, or whatever. How like it seems how some of these different fields, like the paranormal, the UFO, the cryptid, all those kind of the different types of phenomena have been kind of like siloed off in their own little sections, you know. And then as somebody who's like into this stuff, when I'm trying to like talk about these things with people who aren't really as interested, like I'll use things like Skinwalker Ranch or things like portals and nexus zones and stuff to kind of explain how these things are all happening, at least in the same region, to kind of like lay the foundations to maybe there might be a connection between them, which is now kind of happening in the mainstream too. They're using Skinwalker Ranch, they're using these like portal ideas, these hotspots ideas, which is interesting. It's like, it's almost like a metaphor, like a hotspot that would attract all different kinds of phenomena. It's also being used in a conversation like space to actually bring the phenomena together, like with a dialogue, you know. So it's allowing for like, and it seems how like over the past 50 years or 75 years or 25 years or whatever, these different anniversaries we're having. Earlier eras, they were trying to legitimize these different. They were trying to remove the woo from the conversation to try to get some type of mainstream scientific approval, you know, to make this like accepted by the mainstream. And now it seems to, which that's well and good, but it's like almost purposely ignoring any type of weird, like metaphysical, spiritual, just strange phenomena that's attached to it, you know. And now, so we learned a lot. It's kind of just like we're dealing with that a lot with the science community right now, and it's in the regular world. But now it seems like in the community, we're getting into the strange stuff now. We're hopping into a new era, and yeah. So the cult. Yeah, I want to start with the cults first. Sorry.
Yeah. You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
We got probably about 2 minutes, so we can just kind of maybe buzz through the names, and then we'll come back and talk about them after the break.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of like maybe the most like famous. Let's start with the Heaven's Gate cult first, kind of, or
yeah,
chronologically.
Whatever's probably most popular. Heaven's Gate, and then there's this other stuff, the Aetherius Society.
Oh yeah, all right. So I'm looking at the notes now. All right, so we got this Aetherius Society, which is this movement from this guy George King from the 50s, and he was talking about extraterrestrial intelligences, or what he called cosmic masters, and it was very early New Age. It was basically kind of this is kind of what I want to talk about, how they're using what the zeitgeist was like as a filter to like shooting kind of UFOs through it, you know. So it was very Christian, very like basic early New Age, with just the idea of extraterrestrials. So people first getting introduced to extraterrestrials in 1947, the first sightings, the Roswell crash, people being like first hearing about UFOs, you know, and then these first cults start to develop. And then we get the Order of the Solar Temple, which is from like the early 90s, which I guess is closer to when the Heaven's Gate death was, but Heaven's Gate being created in the 70s. That was more of like a satanic type of flavor to the UFO cult styles. Like there's basically like all the cults that have existed in the 1800s, like early 1900s, just now adding the UFO subjects to it, adding the UFO filter on top of it, as the UFOs have reached. Sorry, I hear the echo, so we're going to the bottom of the hour. Sorry, Mike, I'm rambling.
No, you're good. You're totally good. All right. So this is what we're doing, right? You guys know the drill. We're here with my good friend, the Nightstocker, Derek in Massachusetts. We're talking about UFO Cultology tonight. You're damn right I made that term up. But things have changed in the last 25 years, and last 50 years, last 75 years regarding UFOs, and of course the cults that come along with them. So join us as we discuss this tonight, and what do you know about these things, including Heaven's Gate and some of this other stuff we're talking about. That's what's coming up. That's what's on deck. Again, we're here with the Nightstocker, Derek in Massachusetts. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. More UFO cults, Derek, and your calls when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are here tonight with my good friend, Derek the Nightstocker. And we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And tonight, of course, as all nights, we're taking your phone calls. But the discussion tonight becomes, how come there seems to be a sea change in the UFO community over the past 10 or 12 years? It used to be UFO, now it's UAP. What exactly does that mean? Does it change from nuts and bolts to some sort of a bizarre ritual of consciousness? Love to hear your thoughts on this. If you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Let's get back to Derek, and then we got James on the line as well. What's up, Derek? Welcome back. How are you, my man?
Yo, what's going on, brother? Here we go. So we had a good comment there on Rockfin. I want you to respond to that before we go to James real quick. Robert said, could it be that these crafts are flying time machines and these aliens are our descendants traveling back in time to research our times like highly advanced archaeologists? What's your thought on that? Oh, it's absolutely possible. That's definitely possible. And I want all those takes. I want, what do you think? What could it be? What's your wildest theory for it? And as far as like time travel, that's a whole other thing. Like the paradigm of what time travel could possibly be, I feel like it's changed over the last 10 years too. We're getting into like block time and the idea that all these moments are happening at once. Like, what does time travel really mean? Is there a consciousness connection with time travel? And is there a consciousness link with UFOs? And what does that mean? You know, like the waters are getting murky, and that's kind of what I want to figure out tonight is like, how did the waters get so murky? And then what does that mean moving forward? You know, and kind of like I want to take the James call first, but like when we get into the Heavens, we should probably start with the Heaven's Gate after that, to kind of like, and that'll get us into everything else. But want to go to James?
Yeah, let's do it.
That's a good question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So 1 second. So that's what we're talking about tonight. This idea of UFO cultology. How has it changed? Why is it changing? And we will start with Heaven's Gate in just a moment here, and get to some other really weird stuff, including, guess what? One of the ones that it doesn't get mentioned a ton, but it is basically a UFO cult, is Scientology. So we're going to get to that tonight as well. Pretty wild stuff. So let's go to, we're taking your phone call, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Our good friend James of Salcedo Paranormal. What's up, brother? Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Great topic. Really, I love it so far already.
Hey, brother. What's going on? Thank you.
Yeah, no, glad to be here with you too. And I was going to wait till the third hour, but you know, this idea of these cycles and these patterns of this interest, you know, people having this interest in all this over time, it got me thinking of a similar thing with the whole idea of the spiritualism or the ghost or the afterlife stuff.
Yeah.
If you think about it, there's been different groups that have been into that over the years too.
Exactly.
That have come and gone. But then the thing, because you two were asking about what has kind of changed, I'm wondering if it is this focus, starting off with the people that were there, but then more and more getting into the popular culture, if it was this focus on the Skinwalker Ranch area and that those, you know, reports of things happening there. Because there were things there, like you mentioned the whole hitchhiker thing and things that seem almost spiritual, but then that's the thing now. It's so hard to know what any of this is anymore.
Exactly. Yeah,
and
those are all great points. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So, I just thinking about that. I think this interest in these things just comes and goes naturally.
Yeah.
I think the technology though has helped make it easier to just connect with people and just stay in touch with all these topics on a regular basis. I mean, look at a lot of us. That's what we that's what we do.
For sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's allowed for definitely the connection of these ideas. Like it's allowed for a UFO expert and a ghost expert and a Bigfoot expert and like down the line to share ideas at like immediate speed and stuff. So you mentioned the seance stuff, and those were huge. Like at the turn of the the 1900s, that was like what the upper class was like into at parties. They were doing that on the regular. It was like high society and stuff. But they weren't really thinking about UFOs at all. So we'll get into the Heaven's Gate cult and stuff. And the founder, Nettles, she was very into seances. She was very into spiritualism. So it's like it's a fusion of those ideas together, like UFOs meeting this spiritualism, meeting this like contact of the dead, of consciousness from other realms, and those fusing together, and then these ideas from these cults, like that fusion ideas, then permeates into mainstream culture over the next 25 years into when we get into what they actually believe. It doesn't sound too crazy when you talk to the average person who believes in an ascension to the fifth dimension. And that's not too uncommon these days, you know? So yeah, you're right. And then the seance aspect with the Council of Nine and the idea that, like they moved, it's a fusion of the sci-fi space ideas with these spiritualism ideas, and those fusing with other things, and then just, I don't know, like you said, the technology bringing all these ideas together, forming some new soup, you know. And that's kind of what we're in right now. This new maybe juice we're all swimming in.
Yeah, and I think you know, there are still your different groups that are almost in different, you know, maybe not as extreme, but almost cults in and of themselves, of people that just, they want to stick with this one topic or this one view on how things are. And I mean, my view has always been that, you know, everything is possible. So there could be nuts and bolts craft, you know.
Exactly.
There could be consciousness, you know, light-based or plasma-based. But, you know, I think that's a big part of the technology, the double-edged sword of that too, is that it's easier for these different groups to you know, to rub against each other and to cause drama and stuff like that, which I think is part of what you're seeing now. But I think that's also feeding back into the you know, the people's awareness of all of this stuff, and they see that, and it kind of, I don't think it helps, you know, any of this either.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of friction when trying to bring up the idea that like there might be some UFO connection to Bigfoot. When you're talking to like a Bigfoot person, they might say like, that doesn't make any sense. So Bigfoot is an ape that we haven't discovered yet. It's like it's a connection to us. Like it's two different worlds. But then you talk to, like, and that friction is inevitable when these different ideas are coming together. But there's a lot of people who are really into, like all of us. We like these ideas. I love talking about the strangeness when it comes to all these phenomena. I had kind of dismissed UFOs. I had dismissed like just kind of ghosts. I had dismissed Bigfoot 5 years ago, 7 years ago. Like, and then I got into the idea of, wow, there's a lot of overlay. Like these Venn diagrams of these different topics have a lot of crossover. And in that crossover is some interesting stuff, you know? And then people seem to be into that, and that seems to be seeping into, so now it seems almost like begrudgingly, all these people who like want to silo these different sections off, they're starting to let the gates, they're starting to let the different ideas flow in, and we're living in some crazy times, you know? What does it all mean? And like with the Skinwalker Ranch thing, I think I mentioned this on your podcast, James, before, but the finale for Portals to Hell, that Jack Osborne show, that was on Travel Channel or whatever, where it's basically just like a paranormal show, just like a ghost show, pretty much. Yeah. But they were just using the term portals instead, which right. I'm interested in, because I'm into the portal idea, because the portal idea is a way to kind of connect all these things. If there isn't direct crossovers, they kind of all can cross over. But so they were kind of doing it on the show. In the finale of the first episode, they go to the Strawberry River Inn, which is right across the Strawberry River from Skinwalker Ranch. So they made a point to be like, they were looking for UFOs and looking for ghosts together. And like Jack Osborne, he's also into like UFO stuff. And like so there that crossover, that overlap in the strange is because it's I think we're going somewhere. And then we're going to get into this hitchhiker phenomena, this poltergeist phenomena later, and how that's about to be unleashed. We've been talking about it for a little while now, but it's about to be unleashed on the mainstream UFO community in a big way. And like, what does that mean when your house is haunted because you got in contact with a metal craft? Like, what does that mean, James? You know, what do you think? Yep.
Yeah. No, and I think so much of this comes back to energy, and what is energy and what is consciousness. And I think, you know, that's all connected. Yeah. In different ways, you know. So yeah, I think part of the friction too comes from people that want to legitimize it to the mainstream.
Yeah, for sure.
And which I understand in some ways, but I feel like in some cases, in doing that, some of the more interesting stuff gets left out because it is considered too strange.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why we're here, though. Right?
Yeah, I do feel like that is changing. It's just going to take, a good amount of time for that to all really, like you said. I think we're in a moment now, but I think it's it's more of like a period of time.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're quite there to where it's just full blown to everyone yet, because there's a lot of people that I know that are not into any of this at all.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing.
I think it's happening.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, I don't want to. I don't want to like bury the lead too much because I just get right into it. But like that, like 3 days ago, or like at this point, like 5 days ago on Futurism, and then like 9 days ago on military.com, two extremely mainstream sites. They're reporting on this hitchhiker phenomenon. They're reporting on the fact that these UFO task force people are like a person from the Pentagon, from the UFO task force, saw a creature outside his house. And then now they're talking about Knapp's new book where he's talking about ATIP and OSAP, and how OSAP is basically like a kind of a response to ATIP to look into and deal with the strange phenomena that they didn't talk about in ATIP, basically. And how it's like, especially focused on Skinwalker Ranch. And like this is Knapp is like, I like Knapp, but like he's very much at the crest of like what people are talking about in the UFO communities and stuff. And then he's tied with Corbell, who I don't love so much, but he is the one who's like on Fox News, he's on Joe Rogan, talking about Bob Lazar stuff, talking with David Fravor, talking about like trying to legitimize. He's a massive, huge part of this whole 2017 ATIP, like all this type of government like legitimacy with the UFO community is also summoning UFOs and into this poltergeist stuff, and is about to unleash this onto us. So it's like we're about to see how the UFO community can stomach it. Like it just happened. Like we've been talking about for a while, but it's about to happen. I've been waiting. We've been waiting for him to be like, why are you only talking about the nuts and bolts crafts when we know that in your downtime you're summoning UFOs and you think there might be some connection to fairies and you know about the poltergeist activity, and now they wrote a book on it and here we go. But what happens? Where do we go now? Crazy.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'll get off, but here with call in. Yeah. But no, just great topic, and I just had to bring that up. It seems like everything is, these different separate trends are definitely starting to blend in together, and that's just what I wanted to point out. So, great topic. Looking forward to the rest of the show. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for calling, James. Thank you.
Appreciate it, James. Always a pleasure. James here has a podcast called Salcedo Paranormal. Check it out. Links in the description down below. And there we go. Good stuff, James. Good way to start us off here with this idea of the sea change of the UFO community becoming less nuts and bolts and more woo. And so let's get to the space poltergeist. Speaking of more woo, and this idea that Heaven's Gate actually was an old UFO cult, right? Infamously, they all committed suicide 25 years ago this next week. So it's literally been a 25-year anniversary. And then again, like we were saying, the week after that, a 25-year anniversary of the Phoenix Lights. Almost like they missed it and they thought that Hale-Bopp, the comet, was actually coming to get them, but it wasn't at all. Or what if it all was related? What if it all was? So anyway, so the Heaven's Gate, they call it a religious group, of course. It's a UFO cult is what it is. It was actually formed way back. We're talking about 1974. And from the same people, Bonnie Nettles and Marshall Applewhite. And these two individuals, what were they known as? It was T and Doe, right? Is that what they called them?
T and Doe, yep. And also Bo and Peep and 1 and 2. And they were called the Two. Was like what they're termed as. Like, so we're just a synchronicity on its own, like we talked about the other day, but the Two. And anyone who's following all the Ukraine stuff, they're putting those there's those Z's on the tank in Russia that people have been looking like twos, and we just had that 2-2-2-2 moment, and there's all kinds of seem to be weird. The people looking at the numbers are looking at the number 2 weirdly. So now we're having this kind of anniversary, this moment where people are thinking about the two again, like watching. There's two separate documentaries about the two, and it's creepy. Go on about the Heaven's Gate. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it is creepy, and so interesting. So let's throw this out there as food for thought, right? So they happened in the same month, all right? This Hale-Bopp comet and the Heaven's Gate suicides, and of course the whole idea was it was called a Heaven's Gate because way back in 1974 when they created this, the idea was that there was a UFO that was going to kind of come and grab their group as sort of this ascension process, and actually the UFO itself would be known as the gate to heaven, or literally Heaven's Gate. And so we have this weird thing where not just that happened, all the suicides went down. Again, what was the date here? It was I can't remember.
They found the bodies on the 26th, but it gets murky. They did it in like 3 different waves, so they created, which is interesting on its own, with like the first wave, second wave. I don't want to say the word, but what does that mean? What does that remind you of? And but they had them like in groups. So the first group would do it. They would take this barbiturate and alcohol, and then sometimes like put a plastic bag over their head or whatever. And the second group would kind of help them and like clean up after them and make sure they transitioned. And then the third group would help the second group until it was finally down to like the final 2 people. Applewhite himself was in the second group. And so when they actually found them was the 26th, but they don't know when everybody actually died. Like if you search when the people died in Heaven's Gate, they give you the 19th, or they give you the 20th. The HBO documentary gave you the 22nd, which was weird. That's 322, which is the Skull and Bones number, which is all kinds of theories for what that means, and nobody really knows. So if that's some type of entity contact number, that's bizarre.
Yeah, what about this one as far as synchronicities are concerned? There's 39 victims, which of course is 13, right? Times 3. Yeah. So 13, of course, is known as... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The Phoenix Lights was on 313.
Oh, wait. So the Phoenix Lights actually happened first, and then this went down.
And then this, yeah. So Hale-Bopp, the Phoenix Lights, and the suicide all happened in the same month. Phoenix Lights happening on 313, and then 313, like, 13 is just a weird synchronistic number on its own. I'm not going to get into all that, but like, it's also 3 times 39, and there's 39 victims, and their motto, like, they released some like a 2-hour-long interviews, like with all the Heaven's Gate people. Like they have like a home tapes, like home videos of like all the 39 people kind of saying their final goodbyes to everybody, and they would all say 39 to beam up, 39 to beam up. So the numbers are definitely in the mix. The 2s, the 39s, they were aware of the number magic. I think
the 13s, right? 13 for sure.
The 13s.
It seems to be in there.
But
go ahead.
There was like their mythology. It was like it changed. It took different forms over like the 22 years. Is another one. They were in existence for like when he like was prepping the people to commit suicide. He like had some memo, some speech, or he was posting online a lot, being like, during the 22 years, I think it's on the Heaven's Gate website, the 22 years we've been prepping for this ascension, like we're finally going to do it, yada yada, I'm paraphrasing. But the beliefs kind of took different forms. In the beginning, it was started by like Applewhite's the guy that everyone thinks about, the guy with like the white hair who with bug eyes, like with the close-up picture that like, everyone kind of has in their heads. He was like the front man. He was like the really charismatic, well-spoken leader. But the philosophy was 2. That was Nettles. She was the one who was into the New Age stuff. She was into like the spiritualism type of stuff. She was into like a lot of the occult, all the occult topics and stuff. Like, and she was into all the kind of stuff. Whereas Applewhite was much more Christian. He was like, his father was a preacher, and he kind of like thought of himself more as a preacher. So at first, it had a much more science adjacent, much more New Age type beliefs, or New Age for the time at least, where they were just kind of like thinking of aliens as more physical, and they thought their ascension would be physical. So during their preps for this ascension, they were like prepping their bodies and doing basically like the reason for these ridiculous cult rules that they had, like the cutting of their hair, the abstaining from sex, and the eventual castration and all this kind of stuff, was in order to prep themselves to be worthy or to be capable of making the ascension. Which at first, when Nettles was alive, was a physical ascension, changing your body from a human to an alien, to this new type of being that was ready to go through the Heaven's Gate. And then after Nettles died of cancer, they had to explain why her body didn't ascend. So they kind of explained it like she was vibrating, her consciousness was vibrating at such a rate that she just burned out her vehicle, that they called the body of the vehicle. And they kind of made this shift to where you're not your body, the body is just something you're riding around in, and the ascension is going to be you shedding your vehicle and going like spiritually. And then eventually he told everybody like that's going to take the form of like us all killing ourselves. And this is like right after Jonestown with the Kool-Aid and stuff. So that kind of gave him the idea. As he was kind of snapping, he relied emotionally very much on Nettles, on T. And when she died, he kind of like reverted back into, it was basically very Christian based with aliens, pretty much. Like it was aliens with like all the alien stuff and angelic stuff is just the same thing. Whereas Nettles was more comparable to kind of what people believe today, I guess. It was more Von Daniken than it was the Bible. But yeah, he kind of snapped. He kind of broke down. I got everybody to kill him. Sorry, I'm rambling. Go ahead.
That's okay. That's okay. And so what happened is eventually, the two founders again, it was Applewhite and Nettles. Nettles, the female, passed away, and it kind of was a dark time for the church, for Heaven's Gate, and they were waiting for this UFO for a long time that never came. And then in the news, it kind of was the revival here. The revival was that it was announced, in scientific circles that the Hale-Bopp comet was coming through. And suddenly, it was sort of this resurgence of the idea of Heaven's Gate, and that the UFO itself was on the way, and it was just hiding behind the tail of this comet. And so astronomers couldn't find it, and that's where we lead. That's where this goes. We're out of time. We're going to take a break here, but
okay.
The perfect timing to kind of stop there. And so what they did is, of course, they set this up as the idea of, ascension. And again, from nuts and bolts UFOs to the idea of ascension. And that's what we're talking about tonight. This whole idea, how come it went from UFO to UAP? We have all these UFO cults talking about this sort of Heaven's Gate sort of ascension process. How come everybody has answers and it all points to the same place, the proverbial heaven? Looking to hear your thoughts tonight. We're here with my good friend Derek the Nightstocker. And what are your thoughts on this? What do you know about Heaven's Gate, UFO cults? Have you summoned the UFO? What is the ascension? Exactly right.
You believe in the ascension still? Yeah.
There you go. Do you believe in this stuff? 702-957-1037. 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're here with Derek in Massachusetts, the Nightstocker. Don't go anywhere. More UFO Cultology, the changing of the guard, ascension, and your phone calls when we return. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. Random images as they traverse neurons in your brain.
Alright, so maybe
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and I'm here with my good friend Derek the Nightstocker, and we'd like to say hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on? This is the show where we get together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and we talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are? You know what those things are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. As always, we're taking your phone calls because we're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, D-Live, and Twitter. And of course, we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. That's digital radio. And, well, 702-957-1037 is the phone number. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the phone and talk about UFO cults. How come this has changed in the last 20 years, 25 years? How come we have this bizarre 25th anniversary of not just the Phoenix Lights, but a week later, the actual Hale-Bopp Comet Heaven's Gate suicides? Interesting, notable, maybe not. It depends. It's all completely up to you. And as always, right, we don't have any inside sources here. We're just trying to figure out the world just like you are. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. One more time, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org, and we'll put you on the show. Easy peasy as that. Let's get to Derek in Massachusetts. What's up, bro? Are you there?
Yo.
Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening. Yeah, I want to hear about, like, what do you think about this ascension? Because there's a lot of people who still believe that we're gonna make this ascension. I believe that we're more than just our body. That idea has permeated through culture and stuff. How do you explain this poltergeist-like activity, this haunting phenomenon that's attached to UFOs? Like, how do you explain that? What are UFOs to you? Like, have you tried to summon a UFO? Like, what do you think the state of UFO culture is right now? Like, what do you think the beliefs is of the mainstream community? Have you noticed the cult-like nature of it? Have you noticed the kind of connections between these different beliefs and what is seeming like the tastemakers of UFO conversation has kind of put onto us, you know? Like, what do you think about all this weird stuff? But I know we got callers, so...
Yeah, definitely. So that's the discussion tonight. We're kind of looking at this idea of Heaven's Gate, and again, is it related to maybe the Phoenix Lights? I kind of like that idea that maybe they were right. And you know, I'm not saying anybody should go do the Kool-Aid thing. But please don't do that. But what if maybe at least let's say the suicide stuff was clearly like misleading and probably a bad place. But if we're talking about this in terms of maybe they were correct and the Hale-Bopp brought Phoenix Lights, that's a wild idea right there. So again, what are your thoughts on this? 702-957-1037. Let's go to Joe in Florida. What's up, my friend? Welcome to Troubled Minds. You're on with Mike and Derek. Go right ahead. What's on your mind tonight?
I'm calling you from Scientology headquarters.
Nice.
Nice.
And I just saw a transport ship land. It was called a bus.
Take a picture.
Every morning, hey Derek, what's going on? Finally, good to talk to you. Every morning when I go to work at my place, I pass by the apartments for Scientology. It's kind of funny. I'm wondering if you watched the 2020 show. It was on Hulu where they revisited Heaven's Gate. I just actually watched it this weekend.
I did watch it. Yeah.
You know, really, that guy was mentally ill. Now, I'm not saying I don't believe in any of that stuff, but
yeah.
I looked at that, and then I looked at David Koresh, and not that I should laugh at other people's tragedies, but I remember when Waco happened, and it was really weird because we had a roller hockey tournament in downtown Clearwater. I had just moved to Florida. I didn't know anything about Scientology at all. And just telling you kind of a goofy story. But anyhow, so we named our team the Waco Flames in terribly bad taste. And that place, it had been 8 months since. But anyway, we see a bunch of people walking around in uniform. I didn't know who they were. And I had this born-again Christian guy that skated with us, believe it or not. I had like all religions there. And he wouldn't play hockey, but he came to play roller hockey with us. He gets into a fight. The born-again Christian gets into a fight. And he's yelling at the Scientologist also. And I'm like, he kept saying, where's the UFO? Where's the UFO? And I'm laughing. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, these are Scientologists. That's how I learned about that down here. But as far as being influenced, my wife's grandfather, and this is on a serious note, he was part of Urantia. I don't know if you've heard of Urantia religion.
Not really. I mean, I've heard the name, but I don't even know what it is, though. No.
Okay, so there's an MO. If you look at all of these, if you look at Urantia, I'm going to use her granddad, who was a great guy, and if he was still alive today, I'd probably be drinking with him and talking about UFOs and telling tales and having a good time. But he was very highly intelligent. I think he was a statistician. I believe he worked for the military. At least he worked for the government. And like the 2020 show, a lot of those people were highly intelligent, but I think they lacked, maybe it's a form of autism, maybe it's a lack of common sense. It's very hard to get all of those skills together, right? Like a video game, you might have intelligence for something, but you might not have this or that. So he did, I mean, my wife and I were talking about it, and she's like, yeah, Granddad got built, like, he would go on a trip. There were pictures of him on a trip with this religion. And they took him, I don't know for how much money, but they took him for a lot of money. And the question I always had watching that 2020 special was, at what point in Applewhite's religion did he start to believe his own baloney? Or did he believe it altogether? And really, and the other question is, do we point the finger at a cult when a lot of just regular original religions require blind faith? You know,
exactly.
It's a great topic, and it's just kind of, you know, I'm glad you guys are talking about it tonight. And I saw the show this weekend. But again, it's almost like we all have to be part of something. I think all of us here, when we talk, we all play devil's advocate with each other. We like we say, the baby juice.
Yeah.
Like, I get scared because literally when I walk down, you know, when I'm walking around, I could say to myself, we're all surrounded by whack jobs. It always feels like, and maybe we're the whack jobs. I don't know.
Maybe we're the whack jobs. So real quick.
But we're not out there. Here's the thing. We're not out there spreading. I don't really talk about the show much. I tell people about the show, but I'm not out there trying to get people to join the Watchtower and knocking on people's doors. Okay? You know, religion, any kind of religion, cult, to me, it's all control. I was at a church this weekend. It was a Baptist church. And the women are still addressed by the men's, like, first name. Like, that's Mrs. Joe Gambino, right? Or Mrs. Adams. And I was sitting there in the church, and I'm like, joking around with my attendant. And I'm like, keep a lookout in case we have to catch some snakes, you know? But that's the way the women were addressed in that church. And in that series, they all had to cut their hair. Like you said, there was an attempt to make them all look equal.
Androgynous,
I don't know.
There's a lot of, no, you're right. Like, there's, like, Applewhite himself, I'm not sure if he really was drinking his own Kool-Aid, honestly. Because he wasn't doing everything that he told all his followers to do, because he was sleeping in his king-size bed. He was like, but also he believed he was the one. He called himself the one. He thought he was like the Jesus figure of this cult. So he was most likely, I'm not sure. Growing up, he was a smart guy. He was like compelling. He was a teacher at one point. So I don't know when the transition would have happened, really, but that's what kind of like shook me, is that, or really like made me interested, is that the beliefs that they had, these guys were kind of all there was a screw loose with a lot of these people. Like they seemed very, very nice. I don't want to like bad talk the people who committed suicide and stuff. They all seemed very nice. They weren't hurting anybody. Like they weren't doing anything. Like Applewhite's if there's a villain of the story, he would be the villain. These people who kill themselves are not bad people. But like you said, they at the very least were looking for some type of connection and stuff, you know. But the fact that these people perceived as weirdos, as whack jobs by the mainstream, their views of ascension, their views of your body's just a vehicle, have permeated through what I consider to be like mainstream fringy conversation, you know. And that was interesting to me. That's weird. It's like, when did that happen? Like, when did we go from thinking these people are weird? Like, I believe that our body is a vehicle. Like, I don't want to shed it. I don't want to kill myself like they did. But I do believe we're more than just our body and stuff. So when did that transition happen? Like, am I being cultified? Are we all being like crazy? Maybe like I hadn't really heard of it until that documentary and stuff, or I hadn't really like dove into it. I mean, until that documentary. So yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. I think I agree with you. It's when did we? I would say maybe New Age cultified.
Yeah.
You know, the Crusades were pretty much a cult. Any religion, yeah. But maybe in my opinion, to clarify, New Age cult. And I do agree with you. I mean, we're a ghost of a machine, but we shouldn't eject. We shouldn't eject prematurely. We're here to experience, hopefully, our best lives. Hopefully, you know, and that's maybe where my blind faith comes in, because I have to have hope. Whether, you know, and I had this question in college. It was like, you know, we talk about an atheist and stuff, and I'm like, well, you know, I kind of, as I'm older, I'm kind of jaded, and sometimes I'm like, I'm an atheist, but then I'm like, well, if there was a God, I'd kick him in the shin and be like, what are you doing? But, you know, I would think that even an atheist has to get up with hope, okay, and not wanting to kill themselves. Here's the thing, though, and I've said this before. His eyes changed. All of their eyes, a lot of these guys, maybe I'm wrong, maybe with the exception of Jim Jones, because every time I see a picture of Jim Jones, he's got sunglasses on. But
maybe that's why.
These guys have compelling eyes. I mean, Applewhite, he looked like he had a screw loose.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
And you start to wonder if he was touched. You know, my mom's friend, my mom was like 75, right? So she had a friend from childhood. And they're still friends, but apparently at some points in their 20s maybe or something, the woman apparently saw a vision, and she became a nun.
Yeah.
And now she's not a nun anymore. But she could still see. Like, literally, we'll be at a party. Like, we went to a party one day, and it wasn't a party trick. I wasn't expecting it. We're at my friend's house one day, and she just starts reading people. And I had people coming up to me going, did you know she could do that? And I'm like, do what? Yeah. And my mom was a little embarrassed, but she was reading people, like telling them, hey, that person's not right for you, or you've got trouble at home. And I had three people actually come to me and go, she knew what was going on in my house. So, but she was touched.
I believe in that.
You know, she was touched. And, it's like there's something else going on. We can't quite see it.
That's the thing. Like, that's what's so interesting about
poltergeist activity. You know, when you talk about poltergeist activity in UFOs, I haven't really seen that, but I know probably 2 or 3 years ago, at least 2 years ago, you know, when Mike had the show and the show was kind of starting and everything, I was calling in because I was seeing stuff in the sky almost on a regular basis over where I live. Now, for the last 2 years, year and a half, I haven't seen nothing. And maybe it's because I'm not outside in the hot tub looking up as much. That's definitely. And maybe because the stress level in my life has gone down, because we had a lot of deaths in the family the last couple of years. And maybe it was searching, maybe it was out of my heart, but looking up, hand to God, whatever, I know what I saw. And it wasn't from around, it wasn't from around here. Phoenix Lights, I don't think I don't know. I don't know what the correlation with the Phoenix Lights and Heaven's Gate would be, but it's a scary thought to think, and it's a scary thought to think that we're all being, all of our shows kind of lead to the same thing. It's a circular argument yesterday in the scrying, the mirror. The scrying mirror, it just seems like they are trying to get us cultified against each other.
Yeah. It's like something is like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it does seem like something that's the synchromistic aspect to it. It seems like something is, whether human or non-human, is trying to change culture. So that's like that kind of the connection between the Phoenix Lights and the Heaven's Gate. It's that what it did to the zeitgeist. Phoenix Lights is the biggest sighting in recent history, and then this cult thing kind of, it was as a joke like at the time, but like Saturday Night Live did sketches about it. I'm sure every late night show was talking about it. Like I knew what it was as a little kid. I knew like these ideas, like they were allowed to penetrate our consciousness in different ways. Like, and then kind of all mishmashed together. And now 25 years later, we're looking at the scene. We're kind of surveying the landscape, and we're like, oh wow, we're living in the world that they kind of designed for us, And what was going through Applewhite, I don't know. Like, was it? Because I believe in people having like special sight. I believe in like people seeing things and stuff, but also it gets into murky territory with like MK Ultra stuff. It gets into murky territory with like the intelligence apparatus and psychedelics and like Manson. Manson had direct CIA connections. Like, who was funding Heaven's Gate? Where did that come from? Like, was there some type of other connection that injected these ideas, Yeah.
You're right. I was like, who got the money for that? They didn't really, I know in that show they mentioned some people, have lost.
Just one rich guy with an inheritance.
Savings,
Yeah. Some quote inheritance somebody had. Whatever.
Yeah, it was your inheritance and stuff like that. But, like I know in school, like in college, I was, I had students tell me, how can you be a fence rider for things that I'm like, I'm not. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Yeah. I'm just looking at the evidence I'm trying to look at the evidence from all sides before I decide who I'm defending, who I'm jumping in with. But, how about what would have happened if he lived? I'm looking at the competition. Let's compare that religion to Scientology. Scientology, or even Joel Osteen, they made money. Maybe Applewhite couldn't expand it anymore. We don't know what he was thinking. Maybe he could not expand it. Or did you seek out to be a death cult in the beginning? Nobody's really going to know. But I know that if I was starting my own religion, I think I would want it to thrive and not kill everybody that's with me.
Yeah.
But again, the gentleman had a mental illness that they don't really say, but I believe at least he had a mental illness. They don't really say it in the show. I don't think he was ever diagnosed with it. And don't forget, his upbringings were religious. His dad was very religious. And who's to say that's not a gene? Who's to say that's not like a gene?
Yeah.
Like paranoia or anything else. But we're all being influenced. So whether it's, look around you, look at our laws. Our laws are influenced. Look at the argument of the nation. Okay? I can say that being brought up a Catholic and an altar boy and going to a Catholic college has made me a recovering Catholic. But whatever goodness, if you don't believe in God, you believe in good, orderly direction, whatever goodness I might have, I think was because of my parents and probably because of religion. But I think I'm old enough now, we're all old enough here listening, that we're probably all old enough here to take the training wheels off. That's why we're calling here. That's why we're here every night talking.
Yeah.
Because the scary thing is, if you talk to a neighbor down the block, they may not be blinded by Heaven's Gate, but they might be blinded by the right politics or the left politics or the identity politics or this, whatever's being shoved down your throat that day. And I guarantee you, we all know that psychiatrists, the government, everybody has, like you said, MK Ultra, all of those things were monitored. They were probably monitored, and maybe they knew that guy was going to kill himself, and they let him do it. maybe David Koresh, the government knew what was going on, and they went in there and they blew everything up, whether that was right or wrong. But the fact that they did that means that they were monitoring them, you know. So did they learn something from that? I'm sure they did. I'm sure that the government, which we know, could put any of those studies in cult or occult practices to work for the general population. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Oh, exactly. Well, that was another eerie aspect to it too. Is the I mean, on many levels, on like what we're living through, kind of on a more everyday level, with the kind of the dehumanization of us, like the having to wear all the same things, like kind of hear the same way that they did in the cult, is kind of happening to us on like what you're saying about the identity politics, all that kind of stuff. But also with the dissociation types, like we kind of want to get into like the spooky level, like like changing your identity is classic cult tactic. It's classic, but it also is a classic MK Ultra tactic to create disassociations in you to allow for something to come through you. So it's Applewhite created the conditions for exactly what an entity would want to come through. So were his eyes big and buggy because, like you said, like he was a little bit crazy, or were they big and buggy because he actually was coming through, like something was actually coming through him? Is that where, like, maybe the broken part of him is what caused the malfunction in the cult for them to like kill themselves, but the ideas that like stuck in the zeitgeist and stuck with people to where people believe in them now is what was coming through from some type of higher being, like whatever that thing was, you know. Underrunning that. Great stuff, Joe. Thank you very much.
Well, that's a great argument, because you could maybe not say that it was a fact, but you know, you have people that, what happens? They hit their head and they're good at math. Well, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Or they hit their head and they know you language. Well, where did that come from? You know, or there's just recently some kid that was born and apparently he was born again and reincarnated and he remembers. There's just another recent case of that, like on TikTok or something. If it's been false or not, I don't know. But where did that come from?
Great stuff, Joe.
Music. Have
Great
a good
stuff,
night.
brother.
Maybe I'll call after midnight.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. Joe in Florida.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
the
you,
phone call. Great stuff. We're still talking about this. This UFO cultology. You tell me, is there something to this? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? And in this case, was it the UFO or was it the cult? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're here with my good friend Derek, the Nightstocker. Don't go anywhere. More UFO cult talk, why things are changing the way they are, and some more synchronicities when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're here tonight with my good friend Derek in Massachusetts, the Nightstocker. And we're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, D-Live, and Twitter, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're taking your phone calls as we discuss this idea of UFO cults. How come they've changed? What about Heaven's Gate? What about the synchronicity of a 25-year anniversary of not just Heaven's Gate, 25-year anniversary within a week or 10 days of the Phoenix Lights, and then, of course, this summer, the 75-year anniversary of, you guessed it, Roswell, New Mexico, the original crash in UFO mythology. Do you think there's something to this? You think that maybe not? Ask the synchro mystic in you, and you may come to an answer. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. And let's do it. We got a phone call to get to, but let's get back to Derek in Massachusetts. What's up, brother? Are you there?
Yo, what's going on, brother?
Doing the thing, man. Doing the thing, talking about crazy stuff. So we got more UFO cults to get to. This Heaven's Gate one, it's got the weird synchronicity with the 25 years. And again, I never really put two and two together, but it's a compelling idea to me that in March of,
97.
97, thank you. My math, don't ever do math on a live stream. So 97 in March. So March 13th, we had the Phoenix Lights. And then March 19th, 19th and 20th is when this Applewhite guy recorded his final sort of outro for this setup. So it makes me wonder if somehow maybe it wasn't connected, but maybe he saw that in the news and was like, yes, this is it, this is here, and maybe kicked him over the edge, something like that. What do you think on that?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about, I'm getting a little echo. That's the thing about, it's gone. That's the thing about synchronicities is that, like, we don't know what causes synchronicities. Like, what's the mechanism behind synchronicities? Is it just that, like, are we just observing natural patterns of reality, or is it a form of consciousness that's trying to, like, adjust reality? Like, so it's almost like something, whatever this, like, trickster type hand is, that's like whatever that thing is we talk about that's trying to, like, build technology through ideas, whatever that thing is, kind of just like lobbed in this UFO idea into the zeitgeist and manifested in the form of the biggest sighting of all time and the most famous alien UFO cult mass suicide. Like, that allowed for, like, even if it gets spun up, it was on TV. It was in people's minds, like, in front of their faces, like, for years, until the fact that it was a joke didn't matter. Just the idea of an ascension or the idea of their other beliefs were just hit your subconscious. And then we have whole generations born into a world where that's just an idea that's ether. It's not that crazy. It's just like, it's something that could happen. And here we are, where people are waiting to go to 5D. They're waiting for Nibiru to come back and something to happen. It's all kinds of beliefs that's not that different from what Heaven's Gate or the Raelians or any kind of cult believes,
Exactly. So, as always, right, this is not the answer show, this is a question show. What are your thoughts on this? What is with the idea of UFO cults, and how come they're changing over time? Again, we talked about UFOs have become UAPs. It's no longer objects, it's phenomenon. We've talked about this idea of summoning UFOs, CE5 through Stephen Greer. There's a lot changing in the idea of ufology, but is it a good thing, I guess is the question. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Let's go to, looks like Raymond in Washington. Welcome, my friend. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and Derek. Go right ahead.
Hey, great. Thanks. So what I have is a kind of a mixed bag of comments, sort of observations, and then some other various things in that graphic. First, I want to start with how the purified perception, I feel, is what everybody thirsts for. That's what's needed. Like, for instance, we walk around in our day-to-day life having those humdrum, mundane moments, when in reality, we don't even really realize that we've never seen the back of our head with our own eyes, and we never will. We can't see our back except if you have a mirror. But if you're having an OBE, an out-of-body experience, is that you floating above you in the hospital room? Well, yeah. Are you looking down on your back for the first time? Well, no, because those aren't your eyeballs. So kind of stuff like that, and something that in childhood people used to challenge me, like, describe a specific color. And then you're like like a tomato. It's like, nah, you're cheating. So I think when perception is purified, you receive a little more of an open window. So my next thing is the double slit experiment, for instance. Now, they say those are particles being flung through those slits, and only on observation do they change course or behave differently. Now, those are particles. They didn't say, oh, these are nebulous plasmatic spirits flying through the slots. No, they're actually particles. And they're deciding to behave bizarrely upon observation. So I think when more of us have observed stuff, I think that's what's kind of molding this odd clay into this shape of the new ufology and stuff like that. And then there's another little snippet here. I just want to dump it out so you guys can definitely have enough time to wrap up. When I looked at the Heaven's Gate stuff, there's like some weird dynamics if you look closely. Okay, they're in the laying position, in beds, deceased, wearing Nikes. Okay, I don't really think it matters that they were Nikes. They could have just been in socks or Reeboks. And then they would have been the cult that died in socks or Reeboks. It doesn't really matter. I think that's a little Easter egg that's thrown in to say, are you purifying your perception, or are you just thinking corporal? Or are you just thinking you don't need to worry that they were all just Nikes. They could have all just been socks. So back up and go, there's more than corporal, obviously, because the double slit experiment. And by the way, I think that 99% of UFOs look to me to be a jumbo double slit experiment. If you think about it, because sometimes people could be standing there and together with you, and they don't see it. I know it's kind of like a little, topsy-turvy of the whole double slit point, but you know what I mean. It's like some people, they're observant, but, so the jumbo double slit experiment versus don't focus on the Nikes, focus on something else. Purify that perception and you'll get somewhere with it. You'll take it and run with it instead of looking at the corporal.
I love it. I love it. I love the way you look at the world here. Good stuff, my friend. Raymond in Washington. What you got for him, Derek?
Yep.
Well, it makes me think of at first, like the Nikes could be like an Easter egg from whatever non-physical consciousness is kind of communicating through these people. It's like Nike is it's connection to old gods, ancient forms of consciousness, like the nine that people talk about, things that these people are channeling to communicate with, claim to be these gods, claim to be these old pantheons of gods and stuff. So is it a little wink to like, look at me, and just the synchronicity of the just do it of the logo of their motto, and he called himself Do, spelled D-O. Like, it's just weird. But you're right. And then, but as far as the double slit experiment stuff, like I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and the idea of like, what's the consciousness connection to the phenomena, and it's to ancient gods specifically, and to like, where are these? How literal are these gods? Are they? Are there actually entities out there that claim to be Zeus, that claim to be Thor, that claim to be whatever? And I believe there's some type of like, this is kind of going to get off on a little tangent, but there's some type of like source energy, whatever this like bizarre acting particles that come through like into reality, and they are just like whatever the source energy is, and they don't have kind of no shape or whatever, or they're all kind of shapes, and then not until they're observed by us do they take form. So these gods, so it's like this source energy is then filtered through many different cultures, and these many different cultures then create their stories trying to explain this information that they just received. And then these stories then become the stories of the personifications of the gods, and then the collective belief of those different cultures imbues these archetypes with actual form. So it's like both. There might be like, there's some type of source, like, so it's like, I believe that phenomena is happening with whatever is this trickster element in the phenomena, whatever is like the idea that this phenomenon is taking different shapes. I think that's a major part of it. It's like shifting our consciousness maybe to take different shapes. Like it wants to manifest something through our own minds. So it's throwing out ideas to change the way our minds think. Sorry, that was a ramble. But what do you think?
Go ahead.
No. I get it. It's like if the company Nike didn't produce their goods, then they would never be able to wear them and give an homage to that ancient demigod. You're right. That's an interesting. But they did. They exist, and it's like they took it and jumped on the bandwagon of that. But if Nike never made that, then it's just the facets are awesome. And so the molding, I think, of ufology, like I said a little bit earlier, I think comes from all these different observers, because ufology and cults maybe changed from just simply sitting around and looking at a wishy-washy dude with sunglasses and drinking the Kool-Aid, has turned into more something more dynamic and stuff because of all the observation. And so it's like anything, a tree falling in the woods and doesn't make a sound. Do we really care? No. Well, not really. But it still to this day maybe doesn't make the noise. But there's so much noise that has already been observed from cults that it's kind of hard not to see that it's been chiseled into a whole new monster. And it's just like, it's like, well, take it and run with it.
I love it, Raymond. Hey,
thank you very much.
I never anticipated we get to particle wave duality tonight, but here we are. You're the best, bro. How come? Let me ask you before I let you go.
Great call.
The great call for sure. Where did you find this show? How did you find this?
Oh yeah. I stumbled across the wonderful Fringe FM quite a while ago, and I've just been kind of stuck glued ever since. So there you go.
Fantastic.
You guys do a great job. Thanks for the open minds and troubled minds. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Raymond, you're welcome anytime. Have a fantastic night. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the call. There you go. Good stuff. Found us on Fringe FM. By the way, we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM, and we're taking your phone calls. Still talking about this UFO Cultology. Good stuff there. We got the particle wave duality tonight, which again is one of those things it means probably a lot of things. And I like that what Raymond said is that maybe it's not really a specific thing. It's sort of like a patchwork of perceptions from so many different people, and that's what we're looking at, and that's why it seems so ridiculous. We're all seeing something different, but it's the same thing, but it's also not, because it's all based on perception, and not just perception, like Derek said, possibly maybe that whole idea of a trickster spirit, and then you drop perception on top of that idea, and then we're all screwed because we have no idea what we're seeing at all, do we?
Yeah, exactly. And like, there's a weird thing with the phenomena that the sightings in the sky seem to be a technology that's like just outside our reach. So that whether that's an argument for some breakaway civilization that's 100 years, 200 years ahead of us, making technology that's almost recognizable but not quite, or is it an argument for there needs to be some basis in our consciousness, something that the mind is using. So like the airship mysteries, they were visualized as like super high tech kind of sci-fi hot air balloon type things, like inflatable type things, dirigibles, and that's because that was like the height of what they thought could fly in the sky. So it wasn't until they saw advanced jets that we got like advanced kind of spacecrafts like that. And now we're living in an orb world and stuff. Just we've talked about a million times the idea that like the flying saucer wasn't actually like what was seen originally. It was just what the headline was, but then it caused people to see flying saucers. So I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like the consciousness shapes the phenomena and vice versa. It's great call. Great stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Back to like I said when we started tonight, sort of that chicken and the egg, but it's what was first, the cult or the UFO, right? And
exactly.
Who spotted who first? I guess that's the question.
Exactly.
Taking your phone calls tonight. We're here with the Nightstocker, Derek in Massachusetts, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. So let's get to so there's a whole bunch of these other cults. Let's save a bunch of this for the third hour.
Is on hold right now? Or is Dale just listening, or is she waiting to come on?
Is she on there? Let's see. Oh, yep. Thank you. I didn't see that. There we go. Daryl says, I'm waiting here. Daryl.
Sorry, Daryl.
Let's go to Daryl in New York, because I'm waiting here. Sorry, I didn't see there. What's going on? How are you? Welcome to Troubled Minds. You're on with Mike and Derek.
Hi, guys. Great topic. Great show.
Sorry, Daryl.
Nightstocker. Doing awesome. It's always something that bothered me about that cult. It really bugged me. You know, they seem to have common sense. I think the reason they wore sneakers was because you want to be able to walk around, you know, in your new heaven. You know, wherever they were going, they wanted to be prepared. So they were practical by putting their sneakers on. I'm thinking, you know, you want to wear, like, shoes to be prepared. But then where was their other common sense, you know? And the other thing that bothered me was that they were neutered. They who did this? Who removed their you know, their anatomy? You know, they found them that they were missing their anatomy. Like, I want to know this. Did Applewhite also remove his? And who did this? Did they have a doctor? A trained professional?
It was a nurse. It was like one of the 39 people was a nurse, and so they. I'm not sure if they actually like to get too graphic, like cut anything off. But it was like definitely they snipped the tubes. I don't want to get too graphic, but I'm not sure if they actually didn't have the pieces anymore, or if they just like made it so. And some of them were chemically castrated, just like the same way that they might be doing it to us as a culture right now. The idea that like all kind of population control type stuff, like the birth rate going down, all kinds of things that they could be doing to us, like the cultification of the mainstream, you know. But that's a very weird aspect there for sure.
I mean, they were all made so androgynous, you know, the women looked like the boys, you know, you couldn't tell the difference after a while. They just had no sex appeal and no sexuality at all. Why did they have to remove their testicles? I mean, come on, you know. I don't know. I don't think there was any hanky-panky going on, but maybe Applewhite was the only one. I don't know. That's usually the case. Like when there's a leader.
He did it first. I think it was him. I think it was him for like he struggled with like with sexuality. I think his whole life kind of, but like I think he was kind of open with it. I don't think it was like a closet situation. I think it was just like whether it was men or women, he couldn't make relationships work kind of. So he just kind of gave up on love and kind of I don't know. It made it so that the cult didn't turn into a sex cult, but it just became the polar opposite, this anti-sex cult, where these people literally they told one story where they like one of them asked permission to hug another one, and they got permission, and he was like, "This is the first time I touched another person in like 15 years," and I'm like, "Geez, Louise!" So even and like the castration was until pretty close to the end. But I can't imagine that. Yeah.
And I'm assuming that he got their money, but like everybody has to surrender their income usually, or whatever assets they have when they join these type of cults. They just get funded by their members. But I guess I don't know if they're even employable at this point. Who's going to hire them?
They had to get jobs at some point. Like they ran, like they were running off this inheritance. Like they were living in mansions. They were spent like 1 month at this one mansion and moved to a new neighborhood in California or something, and living in a different mansion or wherever they were. But they were living in like nice places, and they were apparently off some person's inheritance. It was real vague, which as a conspiracy theorist makes me think it's might be some conspiracies going on with where it's funded. But at some point they were struggling. They were living above their means, kind of. But they had to get jobs. They had to enter the workforce, and that was kind of like towards the end. And it made some of them like leave because it was the first time they saw the outside world, basically in 15 years, 10 years. Like, and then they was like, "Oh, geez, I'm in a cult. I gotta bail out." Or, "Oh, wow, this is what it's like to like be around people like who aren't wearing all the same androgynous outfit. Like, I'm out of here." And maybe made Applewhite realize I'm losing grip over this cult. It's where it's time to like pull the plug, kind of. Like they always believed that they were going to ascend. They always believed there was like an end date, that there was like a time where they were going to leave everything behind. So that was what they had to cut off all their families. They had to change their names. They were basically shedding everything that their vehicle was attached to, because that's not who they are. That's kind of what they were trying to shed. And it wasn't until towards the end, especially inspired by like the Jonestown stuff, that Applewhite kind of got into his head, "Oh, that this is how we'll do it. We'll commit suicide this way." Or at one point they thought it was going to be like a standoff with the police, that they were going to be like suicide by police, basically. But yeah, I don't know. It was a lot of like delusions and mixed up thoughts, mixed up with I don't know. Weird saga for sure.
I don't know. He must have smoked a really good game, because that guy was so weird.
He did apparently. Yeah.
He must have taught the ultimate game on, to convince these people to do all the dramatic things, including that. I mean, that's taking this to the worst extreme I've ever heard. It's just, anyway, that's all. I don't have anything else. I just wanted to mention that. I don't know. Where's the science, Where's Tony Fauci, Where's the science? Like, how did he get it?
I think he was still handling the AIDS epidemic at the time.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's where he was.
I don't know. Physics didn't make sense. How are they going to jump on that spaceship with their Nikes if it was going so fast? Was it going to slow down? I don't know. Was it going to park? I don't know.
It made me think. There's a weird feet thing. It reminded me of it. Like when people get missing 411 sometimes.
Right.
They have a weird phenomena where like their shoes are removed, or their entire bodies are dirty besides their shoes, or like they have their shoes like taken off and then put back on without their socks on. But there's a weird like 2 feet aspect to getting abducted or getting picked up from this realm, taken to another realm, which is, I don't know, I can't explain it, but like it exists, and it's a weird thing to think about. Like I don't think there's a connection at all, but tossing it out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very stuff. Anyway,
Daryl,
great stuff.
It must be the shoes. Hey, I'm walking here.
It must be the shoes.
Hey, Daryl, you're the best. Daryl here has a YouTube channel. Check it out. Links in the description. She sings in not just English, but also French. Always a pleasure, Daryl. We'll catch you later. You're welcome to stay and listen right there, okay?
Okay, great show.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate that very much. All right, so we got a few minutes left here. Now, this is the thing, right? Like, again, it's weird, some of these cults, how they develop, and then, again, we're talking about Heaven's Gate. We're going to get to some other stuff as we go. There's some other really bizarre UFO cults going on that are not just maybe contemporary, that go back a ways, and you'll be surprised that, speaking of like a UFO cult, well, what would you say? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes. Maybe something like that, right? But, that was a joke. That was a bad joke. But meaning that, like you'll be surprised. We're going to get to some of the rest of this. So we're out of time tonight. So real quick before we go, please, we're here with Derek the Nightstocker. Please inspire him to do some more content. He's got some, as you guys know, everybody's a fan of Derek here, and he's got a YouTube channel. Please check it out. Links in the description. It's right there on top. Scroll down. It'll be there on YouTube, of course. It'll be on the also on the podcast feed. So please give him a follow there. He's got a trailer of him actually stocking groceries at the grocery store. So do check it out, because that's what it is. It's STOCKER, the Nightstocker. But you got like about 45 seconds, my friend. Go right ahead if you want to wind this down.
Yeah, so we're trying to basically how the show came to form was just I watched this Heaven's Gate thing from that thing with Joe was talking about from 2020, and it made me come to the realization that like what was once bizarre seems to be more commonplace, and now the things we've been talking about recently on the show the last like 6 months to a year about all the weird phenomena in the background of the UFO stuff, or just how the weird connections between different types of phenomena has all kind of merged together, and it made me kind of think, where are we headed? And that's what I want to talk about. That's what do you think? Where are we headed? Have you summoned orbs? Like, please call in if you've done CE5. Please call in if you summoned orbs. Like, what is that like? What's the ascension all about? Do you believe in that? Like, I want to hear about this stuff. Where are we headed? That's it, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Pleasure's always mine. Real quick, just a few quick shout outs on the Fringe chat over here. S Magician, what's up? We got Mike433. What's up? Paul Till Dawn. We got Catalina. What's going on, guys? Mother Goose is out there. Just want to say hi. We see you. We're reading your chat, and just wanted to say thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. So as we finish, it goes a little something like this. You guys know the deal. We go 3 hours, right? So if you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds, and we're going to keep talking about this. We're going to keep doing our thing. We're still here with Derek, and looking to hear from you. But as we finish, get off the radio time, it goes a little something exactly like this. If you want to help the show, spread the word. Just let people know there's a conversation going on out there that's not about politics. It's about interesting things. It's about important things. It's about sometimes not important things. It's about dreaming. It's about looking up instead of looking down. Spread the word. We can beat the algorithms with old school word of mouth. Word of mouth. And as we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. All right, what's up? Let's do it. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're here with my good friend Derek in let's say New Hampshire. Derek in Massachusetts. I was going to say New Hampshire. Where did that come from?
Close.
Derek in Massachusetts. Yeah, somewhere over there on the East Coast. Hey, I'm walking here. And so we're going to take a quick 2-minute break, but we're still talking about this. We got more UFO cults to get to, including some wild shit you probably never heard of. And by the way, we're off the radio, so you can drop an F-bomb now or then if you like. And we're still taking your phone calls if you want to be part of the show. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the phone. Looks like we got another phone call here that we'll take in just a moment. I see you there. Hang tight. 2-minute break. More Troubled Minds on the way. We're here with Derek the Nightstocker. Don't go anywhere. Here we go. Be right back. 2 minutes. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're here with my good friend, Derek the Nightstocker from not New Hampshire, but Massachusetts. And we're still talking about this idea of UFO cults. They've changed. They're changing quite a bit. And we can get to Stephen Greer tonight. Have you actually ever summoned a UFO through this CE5 experience? And again, right in the old days, it used to be UFOs, nuts and bolts, little green men from Alpha Centauri. Not anymore. We can now go out to wherever the hell we want to go out, download the app, wink, wink, which is hilarious, and it's not free, by the way. And you can download the app and summon UFOs, right? I've never tried it, and I wonder if anybody out there has tried it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But it seems strange that not only have the UFO itself, the idea changed of what it may be from again, nuts and bolts saucers, little green men, to this idea of the phenomena, meaning that it could be many things. Like we were talking about, great call from Raymond there, that was kind of describing as our perception seems to be like a dotted perception because we don't have a singular perception as people. And so we're sort of describing whatever this happens to be in so many different terms that maybe it is one thing. Maybe it is Cthulhu peeking through the ether at us, and we're just trying to again, it's like the what's that? The blind person or blindfolded people that are grabbing different parts of an elephant are describing. One's got the trunk and it's a snake, and one's got the leg and they say it's a tree, and who knows? It just depends on exactly what we're looking at here. And I don't know. So that's the thought tonight, and not just that. This idea that these UFO cults seem to be changing, evolving. So it's not just, let's say, with Heaven's Gate, where they, were supposed to unfortunately commit suicide. That was the horrific part of this. But then also ascend through exactly this Heaven's Gate that was brought to them by a freaking UFO. That's pretty weird stuff. So we're going to get to all that and more. And, of course, we're taking your phone calls if you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Let's go to Derek, and then we'll go to a phone call. Anything to add to that, my friend?
Yeah. As far as the summoning thing, I've never done it. I don't really have any sightings myself, really. But it's so bizarre to me when they mentioned in the documentary a few times that they've never seen anything. They were all they believed that they were willing to end their life because they believed in this thing so much, but they've never seen anything. And then people can go out there, like you said, and buy an app and see things on the regular. What is that? So what's that doing? Is that what kind of power does that have? How does that change people's mindsets? Is that cultifying us as a mainstream? Is that the idea of bringing things in? What are we inviting in? Because a lot of these processes of summoning, especially the ones who call themselves orb summoners, it's very, very close to prayer. It's very close to opening yourself up to have something I don't know, at least enter your consciousness, if not enter you as a vessel. There's some creepy connotations to it, depending on how you want to look at it. But yeah, let's get to this call.
Let's do it. All right, 702-957-1037, and let's go to MJ in Virginia. What's up, my friend? Welcome to Troubled Minds. You're on with Mike and Derek. Go right ahead.
Hey, better.
Hey, UFO, UAP. UFO has always been UFO. UAP was the media, and they basically are trying to steal the thunder from the UFO community, if you want to call it a community. But that's why they relabeled it, so there's a control factor there. Plus, UFOs are not a phenomena because you're going to sit there and say that's a satellite. Satellites are not a phenomena. Flying planes not a phenomena. Unidentified flying objects are not phenomena. They're unidentifiable. You can't see them because they're too far away, so it's not a phenomena.
Yeah,
it's in my opinion.
But exactly though. And, that's part of it. It's them making that distinction. Is that because that's they're not trying to talk about flying objects. They're about to be maybe the fact that there's only one page out of X amount of things that I don't know. What's that story recently? But there was one page, but they're waiting to get 147 other pages of important information regarding this ASAP thing about the phenomena or whatever. So maybe that's the point. Is it's not about these metal crafts. It's about they figured something out with the weirdness that we're about to get a big disclosure, not of crafts coming from outer space, but a disclosure of reshaping of the paradigm of UFOs. That is much more weird and bizarre and ethereal than we had thought about for the last 25 years or 75 years or so, whatever you want to think. But good point for sure about the control aspect. That's a huge part of it too, for sure.
Well, it is. I mean, you can't relabel it and call it a phenomenon when it's been going on that long. The only thing they're going to reshape is the way you think about how you look at it. So they take a thought away from it, or they control the thought. And that's what that's about. I mean, as soon as I heard that, I was like, well, you just took something away from me. What are you doing? And then I finally looked up UAP and said, oh, that's an identified aerial phenomenon. It's like, no, you can identify it most of the time. So it's identifiable. There's a very small portion that you can't identify. Okay? So when I hear that, I get very, it's just a culture thing or a cult thing, like cultology, and that's part of what cultology is when you take a mass of people and control their minds and call it something. When the UFO thing came along, a lot of people called it that. That's just what it was unidentifiable. This is now the media, or there's another group that said, oh, it's this. It's like, to me, that's a cult. It's a lower form of it, a lower aspect of it, but it's still basically leading a bunch of people in one direction, but you're trying to take control of the narrative at that point.
Bingo. Yeah, exactly.
No, here I'm just chewing. Don't mind me.
Oh, sorry.
I can hear that. No, I can't hear it.
That's why I muted. That's why I muted. No, okay. So that's why I muted, so you couldn't hear me. Okay, let me ask you a question, MJ. So I like the idea that, and I said this too. I said this back when this first happened, when they started calling it UAP. I first noticed. I was like, no, they want to control the narrative, right? They want to, for a number of reasons, not just sort of change the idea of what a UFO is. They want to have kind of rebranded. It's like a rebranding and taking that narrative by the horns, right? The bull by the horns, as they say.
Right.
But then, what about? So I'm with you there, and I agree with you 100% that there's some sort of control mechanism being used by changing the terms. Second, though, what do you think about this idea of these UFO cults, and how come those are also changing? Again, we talked about, I'm not calling Stephen Greer and his followers a cult, but I'm saying that they're doing CE5, which is summoning UFOs. But in the old days, they didn't talk about that. And so in this case, we're talking about Heaven's Gate. They were actually waiting for a particular UFO, right? So if that was the case, shouldn't they have been able to just summon them and then hop on and take the ride? You know what I mean? So what's going on with that? It's definitely changing, isn't it?
The thing is, it's again controlling the cult narrative to make it blend into whatever you're changing it to. Because the Heaven's Gate thing, to me, all that was one guy that was very smart who wanted to be God, and he went for people that he could manipulate into the group, and of course he kept them there. And then they had his babies and all this other thing going on. So they were there for, they just kept him there. But he went for weak people or weak-minded people looking for something to believe in or to belong somewhere, and that's what he looked for. So he created it out of that. Very intelligent man. And then I think he started believing his narrative a little bit too much, to the point where he either couldn't get out of it or whatever was going on with him. And then the ultimate was just to kind of do this and move on. Who knows? At that point, I think he's just crazy. Well, that's a lot of what that was. And waiting for this UFO. Now, I've talked about this story before, but I did summon a craft. Okay, me and a friend of mine summoned a craft, and it showed up, and it did exactly what I wanted to do, because my big question on my mind was, are you extraterrestrial? Are you from another world? Are you extraterrestrial from another dimension? And, of course, this dot of light shows up. It did exactly what I wanted to do, and then it left, and I got my answer. It's like, that was a yes, it is, because I called that in. To sit there and take an app off the phone and call it in, no.
How does that work, though? How does it
work?
What is that? Is that a technology, or are they just how do they hear your call? Like, what's the mechanism at work? Like, what's going on? Like, what's the connection? How do you do it? Yeah.
Thought.
Yeah.
Your brainwaves.
Thought.
See, the thing is, you have your body. Your body's the antenna. Your cell phone is not the antenna. Your body's the antenna, and that's what I use. We sat there and we repeated the same thought over and over. And I looked to a certain area, and the night was coming, and everything started happening, and all of a sudden, I'm just staring at this what I thought was a star, and I realized the thing was getting closer and closer and closer, and it's right over the this ridge across from the town, just sitting there, and I and then I verbalized what I want you to do. It did it, and then it went through its changes and then took off, and it did exactly what I wanted. So at that point, but it's a brain wave. It's your intuitive. It's your energy from your body, your frequency that gets attached to, not a cell phone. I don't know what that's about. I mean, the cell phone doesn't put out that kind of frequency. It's just Yeah.
But so are they like reading your minds? Like, so are they always reading your thoughts, or are you the act of summoning, like you dialing the ethereal cell phone to call them up or something? Like, how do they know you're thinking about them? Like, are they always watching?
You don't hang up from it. After you get that attachment, you don't hang up from it. There's just a feeling of because I know when they're around out there. I really know when they're around. And when I go investigate, I didn't do any kind of investigations. It was just personal research or just experiences, really.
Yeah.
And on my head, sitting out at night, the part of my head would start to burn, and I'd look in that direction, and I would see something, and it would go floating by. So okay, and then a couple of seconds later, another part of my head would start to burn. A little dot. I'd turn around and look back, back towards where it was burning from, and I'd see something else coming in. So it was I think there's a mutual connection at that point when you make it. But there's a certain amount of meditation that goes into it, opening up of consciousness, and then just staying out of judgment. I mean, you really have to stay just super cool, super neutral, and just enjoy the view. So it's part brainwave and part psychic, part intuitive, part something, but that's how you connect with them.
Yeah. So what the hell are they? Are they like beings from space, or like are they different than are the biblical stories talking about these things from space, or are they are angels and these things separate things in your mind, in your opinion? You know what I mean? Like,
when I experienced a lot of it, some of them are for far away, some of them for around here. It depends on what you're looking at, but they're all over the place, really. And some of them are just like over the hill. Seriously, some of them are just over the hill. And then they go into the earth. So, and another thing I think I came upon was when you go onto the earth, there is deep in the earth, there's several portals that lead from the earth outside to other areas that you can go into and then, shoot out the other end, or another portion of when they come out of the ocean, they're actually coming through portals through the earth, because the earth is, porous that way. Yeah. And they take off to other dimensions that way. And the earth is a hub of all of this. It's just a hub. And we happen to live on the top of a conscious being, which would be the planet, and we're attuned to it. We just haven't gotten that far with it. But it depends on where you want to do with it, how far they're coming from and how they're living. There's like a whole city going on.
So like, what do you think about like the idea that as a culture, they're trying to like get us to summon something in that, like, if you're not chill, like you were saying, if you're not like in the right mindset, let's say you're going through something traumatic in your personal life, let's say like you have a lot of chaotic emotions, but then you're also trying to, like Demi Lovato or like Kesha, trying to summon something in, trying to bring something in. What if is it possible to bring in a darker entity? Is there a chance that as a culture they're trying to get us to summon or bring in darker entities? Like, am I talking crazy, or is that possible in your opinion?
No, that's quite possible. See, if they're just doing it and they don't know what they're connecting to, they're going to pull in anything. They're going, oh, I got an alien. No, you got the devil. And you have to be educated with what you do to understand the energies that you're calling in. You have to attach to them and understand if it's like a threatening energy, you don't want that. And some people just aren't aware of energies. So when you deal in a lot of different energies, you can feel that little subtle, not so good. It's the same thing we do with people every day. The people around you, and some people you're attracted to, you're drawn to, and some people you're not. And some people you just want to reflect them all, go away, I don't want to talk to you. And it's the same thing out there. It's the exact same thing, but the energies are more subtle because it's not embodied. You see, we don't see the embodiness, so it's different. We don't sense that. It's like electricity. We don't sense electricity, but electricity is around us all the time. It's in a cord, it's in your house, it's out in the air somewhere. So, but we physically see someone. We can also read their body language and their eyes. That's another frequency or vibration that you're reading in front of you. So you get a sense of that person right away.
Something came back up. Can you hear me, Derek? Are you there? Test 1, 2. Test. Test. Looks like things are coming back up. Test. We should still be streaming. Are you there? Can you hear me, Derek? Test 1, 2. Here a minute.
If you can hear us in the chat.
There it is. I hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Okay. All right, beautiful. I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. So apparently my internet dropped. How about that?
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Again,
great call, MJ.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic call. Appreciate that. Sorry to have to dump you unceremoniously.
Yeah.
Get wrecked, MJ. Get wrecked.
We were getting too close, maybe. I don't know. Whatever these things are, they didn't want, whatever's in the electricity, they didn't want us talking about it. Maybe, I'm kidding, but maybe.
Yeah, but also maybe. All right, so calling the phone line back. Yeah, just had an internet hiccup here. So thanks again for the phone call, MJ. Appreciate that very much. Thanks for dumping you there. But hey, technology, what can you do? And live shows. You got to love live shows, right? Anything can happen. And here we are making anything happen.
all good. Yeah.
Right on. Okay, so
third hour.
Yeah, exactly. Third hour. If you're going to drop any time, the third hour is the best time to drop it.
Yeah.
There we go. So if you guys are still out there listening, show's buffering, so they're going to catch up in a sec, I think. But okay, so thoughts on that, Derek? So the stream's like a 1 minute delay, so they'll catch up and see us live in a sec. But your take on what MJ was saying there, it's interesting that he did say specifically that you could summon something else. You could be trying to get a UFO and get Satan, right? Isn't that what he said? Get the devil or something, right?
And that's a cool idea, or not cool. It's a scary idea, but I mean, like, it resonates with me. It makes sense. It makes sense to me that we've talked so much about the idea of trauma and like what they're doing to us, as far as like traumatizing us or just beating us over the head with negative images and negative propaganda and stuff, and then at the same time getting us to do something and call something in that, if you're traumatized, if you're not at the right mindset, what you call in could be negative, and that could be part of whatever negative agenda these people or beings might have for us. They want the invitation, like the metaphorical vampire of it needs to be invited in. So you manipulate us through whatever means, and you get us to invite something in, not knowing that the thing on the other side is wants to it's Cthulhu on the other side or something,
Yeah, exactly. Whatever is peeking through, like I said earlier. Yeah, pretty wild stuff. So we're still talking about this, guys. If you want to be part of the show, thanks again to MJ for the phone call. Sorry about the internet dropping. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Now let's talk about this idea too. Like, what about Kesha? And what about Demi Lovato? Now, and what about this guy, the California guy that can summon UFOs? Now, these guys, like, there's people doing this, right? So this isn't just like, you can say, well, whatever kind of BS you think is going on. Like MJ says he's done it. People in the chat have said they've done this, summoned UFOs. We got this guy in California, what's his name here, Robert Bingham, which actually Kelly's talked about. He says he actually went down there and to see it and saw this guy summon UFOs, and he did it. He says he did it. So, I mean, if this is a thing and it's not just science fiction, like, what the hell's going on, right? Like why I mean, not to pick on these young ladies. They're fine. Kesha and Demi Lovato, right? But, I mean, we got Stephen Greer doing it. They're like sort of adherents of the Stephen Greer philosophy. What the hell's going on here? It's super weird, right?
It's just super weird. It can get pretty deep, too. Like, it's this idea of this little nine. I'll try to get the little blurb of try to explain what that really is. I keep referencing it all the time. But so they're getting Demi Lovato, who has her UFO show that's, I think, still on right now, but it's like very, 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 very current. And she's not really for my demographic, but she, like, for like generations beneath me, is a massive star. She's a Disney kid. She's a musician. She's very popular. So it's the idea of having like some type of Britney Spears-esque figure, some type of pop star for her generation, talking about summoning, latching on to this mainstreamification of UFOs, the idea of everyone wants to hop in and either get a paranormal show where they're chasing down ghosts or get a UFO show where they're chasing down UFOs and stuff. And then at the same time, connecting it to last night's show, she is like she is struggling with her, like, as far as like emotion wise. She's very much popularizing the idea of like having just dissociations, and she'd be one of these celebrity influencers in this mental health sphere that you're talking about. The ones that would, if people are catching some type of social contagion or something like that you're talking about last night, she is like the person I think of. Like she's like the main person I think of. If she's not talking about UFOs, she's talking about that. So those two things combined, summoning and disassociations, that's how you get possessed. That's how you get walk-ins. That's some scary stuff. And then to go like super weird with it, Stephen Greer is the one who taught her. Like Stephen Greer taught her this process. She taught Kesha. Like it's all the same circles. And Stephen Greer, these things that it's the serious stuff. Like Stephen Greer is tied into this, like the idea of Sirius and these beings being from Sirius. And this Council of Nine that happened, like I'll find the thing, but these like the DuPonts, like a general from the military, a bunch of people from the intelligence establishment at the time, like celebrities, Puriarch, one of the like a famous channeler and stuff like that, who's tied with like Uri Geller and stuff. They got together in Maine in like 47, the same year, the Kenneth Arnold thing, the same year as Roswell, the 75th anniversary, and they did a seance to contact entities. And who they contacted was something they called themselves the Council of Nine. And they claimed to be like Amut and these Egyptian gods, Osiris, Isis and stuff, but also like they claim to be from Sirius. So they're from Sirius. So are these the same beings? Like that's what I mean by like watching the zeitgeist, watching these ideas move. And then Roddenberry was in direct contact. I'm getting a little bit of echo or something, but Roddenberry was in direct contact with the Council of Nine. Like he was familiarized, like the person who created like Epsilon or whatever was there, and he was like in those same circles, but also he like was with Puriarch and doing these channelings and stuff. And he made like the Star Trek Deep Space Nine and everything. There was nine original members of Next Generation and stuff, but also just the idea of the Galactic Federation, which is like in all these UFO cults and stuff. But that's like now the people in like the government, like that guy from the Israeli government talking about the Galactic Federation out there. We're trying to get these ideas, these memes that get injected into the zeitgeist. They happen to be from entities being channeled through seances and stuff, which is just absolutely bizarre. And Star Trek, I've said it before, but like has really like helped to shape the UFO narrative. The idea that there is like an unlimited amount of space out there with unlimited populated worlds with different life, and there's a galactic federation of all these like that's just that entire idea, when in reality what the aliens might be is something that's like ultra terrestrial, something that's here, more here than even we are, maybe, or something that's like on the outside of reality or interdimensional or what have you, you know? So that just goes to say that like these entities ipso facto through the transitive property are essentially the ones training celebrities to tell the masses. All these kids with posters of Demi Lovato and Kesha on their wall being like, oh no, like I love aliens now, I'm a huge UFO fan, like let me try to summon these things. I don't know, it's dangerous.
Not only that, it's the same thing with Tom DeLonge, isn't it? Blink 182. He's the guy bringing in like this new UFO movement, whatever this happens to be. And I think, I'm not sure exactly if he's, because it's impossible to tell, right? Because they're always like flinging poo at each other in the UFO community. Yeah. So I don't know if Tom DeLonge is sort of a Greer adherent or not in summoning UFOs. I don't know if that's his thing. But, right? I mean,
we can like...
Go ahead.
Sorry. Well, but like that's the thing about the watching the tastemakers, watching these idea people, because they're all injecting the idea. So it's different with DeLonge. DeLonge wrote the book with Peter Levenda called Secret Machines, where it's talking about how these aliens and stuff are really the ancient gods, yada yada, all the kind of mundanic and stuff, but also the idea of like these darker gods, these more Lovecraftian type gods, and also blood ritual, like things to contact these gods, including like an entire chapter on blood ritual, blood sacrifice, whatever, to meet these beings, which is like way darker than the actual summoning, which is probably why it hasn't got so much mainstream attention. But that's in there. And like, whoa. And then it's like the other end, it's kind of like the three different main pillars of the UFO mainstream kind of. I mean, there's a million pillars, but there's the Greer kind of pillar, the Greer sphere, the DeLong sphere, and kind of the Corbell sphere. And Corbell is also doing it. They're the ones who call themselves the orb summoners. And while he hasn't talked about it as much publicly, his friends, like the ones who Knapp has on Coast all the time, the ones who call themselves the quote orb summoners, are Corbell's best friends from home. And they do it with him. And they're from Hollywood or whatever. I don't know what I think they're writers or something in Hollywood, but which is weird in its own. But Corbell's doing this. He is 100% doing this thing. And that's the thing of like, I've been waiting for him, because I know he's into this stuff. I've been waiting for him to just stop talking about just the nuts and bolts. And that's the thing about that Futurism article, referencing this Knapp book and everything, which is going to be like, is this the moment? Is this when this guy who is now, to my amazement, the face of UFO mainstreamification, going to start talking about haunted aliens? Like, here we go, strap in. Like,
yeah, and so that this is when it tips, right? So the second he locks in sort of that other faction of ufology, they kind of jump like both feet in with Stephen Greer. They're like, all right, let's everybody just start summoning UFOs. And I think you talk in terms of like sort of mass rituals. We've talked about the the Super Bowl stuff like that with the Ryan Gable type stuff. So is it? I guess the craziest part would be if you were trying to summon these entities somehow, some way, and maybe the more people you get doing it, right? Again, we talked about the Nike swoosh and maybe kind of the callback to maybe the Greek mythology of whatever that might be, meaning that, they were gods then. Well, what are they now? Are they still gods? Are they demigods? Are they somewhere in between? Are they... Who the hell really knows what's going on here? Yeah. But the question becomes, once it tips and you have so many people sort of doing this summoning ritual in, well, let's say in the same ritual, right? It's got to give it more power, right? And maybe this is like you've been saying all along. It's like, hey, look, if we get enough people summoning UFOs, wink, wink, UFOs, we're just going to crack this MFR open and Cthulhu's going to come
exactly.
Right? So you sort of get enough consciousness sort of pointed in the same direction. You're going to kind of just cut a hole in it, right? That's what it seems like.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Nutty stuff.
I mean, is there somebody?
We got a call to go to. Go ahead and follow up on that. And we'll go to the call here.
Yeah. When I was on Ryan's the other day, we were talking about all that kind of stuff with the like all the ritualism of like the Super Bowl and the different like DC stuff and all the different things that are in the mainstream pop culture about these, exactly what we're talking about, like channeling the power, like summoning these ancient gods, summoning these powerful beings, somehow channeling like their power, somehow getting imbued with power from them, this weird type of like reverence to these older gods, bringing back these older gods, which is like the Anunnaki or all kinds of different, like the aliens are really our ancient gods type meme, bringing them back, getting power for them to like become gods yourself or whatever. But with the what's in it for these ancient gods? Why are they giving us the power? It's so that we can bust the doors open and let these things in, whether accidentally or on purpose or whatever. So that's the idea of where did the ideas come from? It's the same idea, like zeitgeist creators, culture creators are the same ones building their technology, creating the Large Hadron Colliders, creating these sci-fi ideas that inspire the visionaries that might accidentally, on purpose, open the doors to Cthulhu. But let's take the call. Sorry.
Yeah, all good. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. Apple, are you there? Apple 890. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and Derek. Test 1 2. Hello. Are you there? Apple 890. You're up. All ears are on you.
This is the first time. It's tricky. It messed me up the first couple of times. Too.
Yeah. No problem. If you've never been on the Discord, mess around with it. So try muting and unmuting yourself. That might fix whatever's happening here. It seems like the problem is, I think that it tries to, if you're on your mobile phone, it tries to actually take your microphone, and if you don't give it permission at first, you get problems. Are you there, Apple? Go ahead.
It looks like it's kicking you out. When you put us into the on air, it looks like you're not in anything, and it makes you try to go into the caller queue again, and then you're in some ethereal zone where nobody can hear anybody. It kept happening to me. It makes it seem like it asks you to connect again, then you click connect again, and you're back in the call. I don't know.
Yeah,
it happened to me a bunch of times.
Yeah, so from my perspective, you guys bump in, and then I say go ahead, and then you guys bump right back out.
Yeah.
Nothing I'm doing. Yeah. It's not working. I'll call. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. 702-957-1037. Let me put the number there for you. There you go. There you go. There you are. Oops. So I messed that up. Let's delete that. That's not what I meant. Don't do math on a live stream, and don't type a phone number and paste it instead. 702-957-1037. We got Apple 890 here on Discord with us, but having tech issues, so we'll get her on the phone. So we're still talking about this. What's the idea here? I don't know. It seems like, again, back to the UFO cults and like back to the Heaven's Gate. If they could have just summoned a UFO to hop a ride, right, with the Nikes and whatnot, they would have done it. And they couldn't. It wasn't even a thought back then. But so that's really the idea tonight, is that whole paradigm is changing, and not that we have to sit around and wait for UFOs to find us. We can somehow, through some sort of ritual, meditate and bring them to us. So it's literally turned the entire thing on its head here. And again, like I hate to like point out individuals and say, cult. I could, and I have my opinions too. I just think it's less professional if I do that, and a little more kind of bushwhacking, just pissing people off to get ratings. So I think it's not necessary. You guys can make up your own minds about who is running cults.
I'm not saying these guys are cults. I'm not saying like that. When I said these pillars of the UFO mainstream, I don't mean like the mainstream. I'm asking the question, like, do you notice a similarity between what would be considered the UFO mainstream and what the Heaven's Gate cult were doing, and what the Raelians were doing, and what Scientology is doing? What things that we perceive as cults were doing 25 years ago, and what we consider to be just the most popular, or not consider to be, just are the most popular people in the UFO communities. I'm not saying they're cult leaders. I'm not even saying I don't necessarily trust them. I'm just saying, like, especially when we're dealing with ideas, like it might not be any lies at all from any person at all. It might just be whatever we're communicating with, not we, but whatever people are communicating with, non-human, is doing some weird stuff, leading us astray, getting us to think somewhere. So injecting ideas into the influencers to influence, to do their job, and get us to think things, especially if our consciousness is directly tied to the phenomena. What if it's not literal busting, like we mentioned it during the Lovecraft episode, but what if they're not actually literally trying to bust the doors open? They're just literally trying to take shape using the things that build reality, the human mind, So, yeah. Did I hear the calling again?
Got me. Yep. Phone calls in. So let's go to, I believe this is Sarah in North Carolina. Is that right? Welcome to Troubled Minds. Are you there?
Yeah.
I can hear you. I hear you.
Yo.
Is it Sarah, right? What's up, Sarah? How are you?
Yeah, it is. Oh, it's Apple, yeah. So about the consciousness, it's odd that you even brought it up because I was watching something about it today. There was a scientist who said that our consciousness doesn't really even do anything for us. Like the influences that we have, or the like experiences that we have, our consciousness doesn't need it because we're actually having the experience. So he said it's like playing a video game. The player or the little person in the game is doing the thing, but you're experiencing it. They're not experiencing it. So it's like the consciousness is like they think that like something is channeling through us, so using our consciousness to get something from us.
Huh. Yeah. What do you think that is? Like, what do you think? What are we dealing with here?
It's stupid to think there's nothing out there greater than us. I mean, we are very small in a very large place. I mean, it could be that something is using us to level, using like our energy or anything to benefit them somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, there's too many, it's the same story, but not the same story with aliens. I just think that I really lost my thought. I didn't even know I called in, but the content. That's what I think. These people that are channeling them in and using them for something. They're using our consciousness for something. So they're benefiting something from us.
Exactly. It almost seems like it's like.
We're gonna.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Like it's like, what if like you made an analogy to like the Stargate, like something from really far away trying to like beam instructions over to like build the other side of the Stargate, like build the other side of the bridge for something, you know. And it's this in this way, with the conversation tonight, kind of, it's like using ideas to like get us to build build this, like, I don't know, let whatever this thing is, and like use us, like you're saying. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, because I mean, you're thinking you know, we think these thoughts and a lot of things into existence. You know, it's not there until somebody thinks it's there.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they can get into our consciousness, you know, and we don't know what we're doing that channels it in, but people are doing it all the time without even realizing. Like the thing at the Super Bowl, look what they're doing. But there's so many people watching it. There's so many people singing these songs and just doing these dances and stuff. Who knows what you're pulling in?
Exactly.
So yeah,
it used to be.
Guys, I think stop trying to get here.
Yeah, no, like it used to be like there was like we would think there'd be like secret societies or like, let's say, like dark corners of like the entertainment industry or whatever that are in direct contact with entities, and that it used to be that they're injecting these themes, these whatever they get from these entities, they're putting it into the Super Bowl rituals, they're putting it into the movies to get us to get these ideas out there. But now they're taking a step forward and getting these culture creators, these influencers, to tell us, you guys summon them too. You contact them too. So now it's direct contact with everybody, the whole population. And like, what could that do to us? Like, hopefully nothing. Hopefully it's all in my head, but maybe not.
It could be great. I mean, it might be some of that ascending into the fifth dimension, and you know. But then it could be we let them in. That's inhumanity. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm not going to handle anything.
Yeah,
I'm not something I think of that.
You're getting just a little bit quiet there, sir. Just a little bit quiet. Can you get closer to the phone, pretty please? Or turn it off speaker if you're on speaker. Hello. Are you there?
Hello. Am I lost there?
Yep. Yeah. So the weird thing is, it's hard to tell if the internet or the calls dropping, or if again, if you're on speaker, sometimes it picks up sort of an ambient noise behind. It's just the technology of the way it's supposed to work. So it's impossible for me to tell. I'm trying to troubleshoot from 1,000 miles away. So I guess, but yeah, it looked like the phone was dropping. If you want to give us a call back, you know what to do. 702-957-1037 will put you on the phone. Sometimes it's just a bad connection. Sometimes the internet just drops in the middle of the show. Yeah, you know what I mean? What can you do? All right. So what about some of these other cults then, Derek? We had a whole line of these that you sent over to me too. What about let's burn through some of these and get to that. We're still taking your calls, by the way. 702-957-1037. What about this Aetherius Society? You want to talk about that for a minute?
Okay, let me just pull it up in the notes here. We got alien cults. All right, so we mentioned the Order of the Solar Temple, which is more satanic in nature here. We got the where's the other one here? The Aetherius Society. Is that what you said?
Yeah. We could start at the Order of the Solar Temple if you want to do that. Either way.
Yes. Skip both of those. Go right to the Raelians or whatever. Let's go
to the Raelians.
Let's go to the Raelians here.
Let's do the Raelianism. Let's do it.
Yeah. They're another weird one here. So they had a documentary on Vice last year, maybe 2 years ago. That I watched the first half of it earlier today. And so this guy's still walking around. This guy's still claiming to be a prophet for he is Rael. He thinks he's like the Christ of Christianity or the Buddha of Buddhism. So. Essentially, this mythology is that, or this belief system is that he was abducted, taken up, and given information, and given from these beings that created humanity, the Elohim, and they basically they made us in our image idea, the plurality in the Bible, that we created them in our image. That's kind of what they're latching onto, and that's. The we is these alien gods here that clone themselves, so we look just like them. And then they communicate, they give information to these different ascended masters, or to these different advanced humans. So Christ, or so Buddha, or whoever. And that Rael or whatever is the 14th version of that, the 14th and last one before whatever their ascension version of whatever their like the ascension is in a lot of respects just an alien version of the rapture. It's just you're about to get beamed up to a better place, to heaven or the heavenly realms, or just beyond the stars. But in this case, this is much more scientific. They actually kind of it's almost like a Christian Science tour to an extent, but just with UFOs instead, where they try to back everything up with science. So it's a lot of computer connotations. They have to, in their baptism, their quote unquote baptism, they have to, I don't know how they do it, but they have to upload their DNA to this like supercomputer, this like alien supercomputer. I'm not sure if that's like some metaphor ritual they do, or if they have an actual computer that they think is in contact with this alien computer. But the point of it is to have a digital reincarnation. And this cult was made at the same time as like the 74, 75, the same time as Heaven's Gate. So the same, like in that the zeitgeist at that moment was different spirit. Like it was very common to be in a cult. It was people were searching for spiritual stuff. People were searching for this connection. It was like coming off the 60s and stuff. People were into other ideas. And in the 70s, like the cult kind of came together. And this was just UFOs being overlaid on top of that, you know? Yeah, so I don't know. We're living in now a world where they're telling us to upload ourselves into the metaverse. They're trying to make our avatar as important as ourselves. They're trying to make us basically be rebirthed onto the internet. So another version of this cult doctrines, these cult beliefs permeating into the mainstream. You know, like we are living in a digital space. We kind of have like we're experiencing some type of death and rebirth of our physical form into this digital space. If they get their way, it's trippy, you know.
Yeah. So many layers of it too. It's like is it like an ascension, like from like the soul perspective? Is it like an ascension from like a digital perspective, or is it none of the above? Right? Like we find ourselves again, like I always say, don't look down, look up, because like whatever's out there is like it's not going to be here; it's going to be out there. So do look up. Spend your time considering these things, because who knows? I wish I had these answers again. And I always say this, and I mean this: answers are easy. You know, we can tell you what we think, exactly. but like propagandists give you answers. That's what they do. Yeah. So we're not trying to do that. We're just having a conversation. You guys know. So I don't know. I don't know what to think other than you're correct there, that they're trying to sort of replicate our consciousness inside of that multiverse, right? And we already know that Facebook in particular, not just them, but the other technocratic institutions are really just trying to read our mind before, they want to have the thought before we make the thought. Like they know us on such an intimate level that they're thinking it before we think it, and digitally. And so clearly and obviously, once you kind of get locked into the metaverse, that's like the dream of something like Facebook and Meta, now the new company Meta, because they'll be able to know everything you do, not just again location data, not just your posts, who you interact with, all the rest of this stuff. They'll know everything because they've literally digitized that the consciousness. They've digitized it. Yeah. And so every minute you spend doing anything, they're going to have data points on. I mean, I can't even imagine how big these databases are going to become based on just that. Like, so not only are they tracking you outside of the metaverse, now they're tracking you inside the metaverse. How long you spend, where do you go, who you contact. I mean, my God. Sorry, you had something there. Go right ahead.
Yeah. No. And to go even like to keep it in the weird woo here, like the deep maybe juice waters that we're in. Like, the privacy might be the least of our worries. It might be that they're trying to just disconnect us to our physical body, to our what Applewhite would have called our vehicle, And it's like we get into this trauma, the dissociation thing. I feel like I'm a broken record with it, but it's the idea that just imagine a picture, just our like the nightmare version of like the VR reality that every conspiracy theorist has, of just a person just completely out of shape, or just completely in tatters, just covered in fast food and just their own filth, as they're like plugged into the metaverse. They're ignoring their physical body is not who they are anymore. It's like now they exist in the digital space. So when you leave your physical body, you're not using it anymore. So something wants to hop in. So what if that's their goal? Same way if like these things that want in, if they're non-physical, they want to have something to walk around in. So whether it's robots with transhuman type stuff, which isn't Star Trek, like the whole like the data and all that kind of idea, or do the orb summoning or UFO summoning and letting something into your body through actual possessions or walk-ins or whatever, and channeling. That is very mainstream right now amongst the UFO people, like especially the new age ones, letting something in to talk to you, and then also through the metaverse, like getting out of your body, letting like willingly, which will allow something else to take it up. You're not using it, you know. So,
yeah, it's like oh, you're bored? I'll take over now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll handle this.
It just creates this same K-Ultra type stuff, creating dissociations, creating like your identity shifts from who you really are to something else, to your avatar, you know, and that allows the room for something else to come in, and that might be what we're looking at. Like that could be if the belief is that these aliens are somehow wrapped in with these ancient biblical mythologies or ancient spiritual beliefs and stuff, that in a lot of them, the hordes of demons or the hordes of something, the seals break, the portals open, these things come in and they hop into stuff. Like, so that's the tracking the ideas through different cultures, different paradigms. The metaverse is the VR technological paradigm of it. The Heaven's Gate is a paradigm of their day with we're going to ascend, leave our vehicle, but it's just I don't know. It was eerie to watch it and to see all the connections, especially with what we've been talking about, you know, and especially with how weird it's about to get. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. I never thought we'd have this conversation 2 years ago. So the fact that we are and people aren't, like, these guys are insane right now. They're actually like, yeah, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. Then it's like, that's a change in and of itself, you know. So what are we going to be talking about 25 years from now on the 50th anniversary of Heaven's Gate? Like, what's our show going to be about then? Like, where's the UFO field going to be? Where are we going to be at? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this last night a little bit just on the chat. If you guys haven't joined the Discord, please do, because you miss a lot of behind the scenes action. We were hot and heavy in some crazy stuff last night, which led to this discussion. It was already planned to do this tonight, but some of these ideas kind of come out of just people getting together and talking. And we were discussing this last night. And this I want to point this out too real quick before we wind this down. This Raelianism, right? Raelianism. These guys in particular. So Derek mentioned sort of their uploading consciousness and things like this, but they also believe in this idea of physical cloning, meaning that. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that. And so okay. So the thing is that, if somehow, some way they could upload consciousness, they believe through this Raelianism is what it's also known as. It's a new religious UFO movement, that they have this human cloning mechanism, and they believe that immortality can be achieved through actual cloning. And so, of course, that would mean that we would have to be able to upload our consciousness somehow. But exactly like Derek just said, isn't that what the metaverse really kind of is? It's a transference of who we are in the physical world to that exact, or let's say bastardized replica of a digital version of ourselves. Because you could be a carrot, right? You could be a full-on be a carrot in the multiverse, or a dog, or a talking dog, a talking carrot. You can be whatever the hell you want to be. And so it becomes like this version of us that's not really of ourselves. It's different, but also it's again, these data points are being collected. And at some point you have to ask yourself, if you have such a data collection mechanism that can do everything and read your mind before you perform an action or even have a thought, then is that or is that not a direct replication of your consciousness from the beginning? It seems like maybe these two things are related now. Like, we're kind of, again, like sort of smashing this stuff up into like this weird I don't know what you call it, UFO stew, but it seems like it's not UFOs anymore. It seems like this has turned into all the stuff we always talk about on Troubled Minds, the transhumanism, all the rest of this stuff, sort of changing who we are. And again, sort of, I've actually haven't ever got your take on this. So what do you think about this idea of really the war on humans? So it's like, it seems like we're the ones that sort of take the brunt, and it's not Oprah, and it's not George Soros, and it's not Anthony Fauci. These are the people that are, they're telling us, like, my opinion, are the ones waging the war. But for the rest of us, right, we're useless eaters. We're like ruining the environment. We're driving these cars that are bad. All these things. And so, do you think that there is something to this idea that there's a war on people in general, not just people, but the consciousness of people, because they want us to be very much like the Matrix, right? Like on some sort of Thorazine drip and like exactly. plugged into some bullshit mechanical thing inside the metaverse. I mean, that's where we're headed, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, as far as the blame is concerned, it allows them to get away with what they're doing. If we're talking the Cthulhu aspect, they're trying to collapse the pillars of reality, and what that looks like is a mass collection of rituals that shake the fabric of what we're living in, and that manifests in giant, crazy storms and typhoons and volcanoes erupting and all kinds of stuff. So you don't want to say like, they're breaking the game. You're going to say, oh, yeah, your carbon footprint's too high, and you're just it's you. It's not us. It's not. Yeah, that's a crazy woo thing to talk about. But even still, even on a regular human level, it distracts for the fact that it's like it's them doing it. But like, as far as the war on humanity itself, like I've been thinking about the trauma thing so much and the importance of that. It's just that's what they're doing. It's like they're just it's mass trauma. It's they at the same time period that this what we're talking about with these cults reform. This is right on the back of MK Ultra. This is right on the back of where they figured all these MK Ultra tactics are classic. Like in themselves, they're cult tactics, but they're also they're like initiation rituals, their secret society stuff from eons ago. But they cracked some type of formula with the MK Ultra things, and that's kind of what they've, in the same capacity of the cult, like the cultifying of the mainstream. It's also could be construed as a massive MK Ultra programming of the mainstream. And in order to do that, it's trauma, and that could be the war on humans. And also like, if you want to go to double slit again, or if you want to go the importance of the human mind, then we're the ones creating reality. So if the goal is to create some reality where the elites have all the power, all the resources, some like the time machine reality where you have like the Morlocks and the ones who, you got to have somebody who turn the gears, and then somebody who benefits from the output of the machine. And it's so, but what if nothing actually happens without the receiver believing that it's happening? So what if you're getting hit and told over and over again that that's who you are, that you are just the gear turners, until all of a sudden that's just the reality that you're living in. The same way where you one day you wake up and you realize that that we're living in this, like we're talking about all night, this weird cult reality of 25 years ago, or this weird sci-fi reality of 75 years ago has now just become reality. This comic books have come to life. The superhero movies, the sci-fi movies have come to life. It's like, what if that's like, I think that's a massive aspect of it. It's they're manifesting the world that they want through the human mind, in addition to just the trauma and what comes with that mass possession, like just mind control 101 type stuff. There's a lot in the mix. It's too much. It's like there's many interlocking things going on, and that's like part of it. It's the hitting us over the head with so much stimulus that you can't handle it. You disassociate, you check out, you remove yourself from the overload, and the same thing, the same result. So.
And just a retreat into your safe space of the metaverse where you're a nice, lovely kid.
Exactly.
So exactly. Interesting too. We were talking about that last night about that whole Instagram and young girls and suicides and the body image and all the rest of this stuff. We talked about that in depth last night. But it's another way to sort of disassociate, like you said, like you were saying last night in the chat. Once we have that personality dissociative personality disorder, that's exactly what they want, because we're no longer this flesh and blood. We're because we're just disgusting human beings, but we're the cute dog. We're the Clifford the little red dog, or the carrot, or a little computer walking around, and it's like it's cute. It literally turns us into an avatar, and that avatar again in some ways is not even representative of what people are. Clearly, it can't be. In some cases, yes. But go ahead.
That show, Alter Ego, that like singing contest show that they had on Fox, like 6 months ago, or whatever. The whole crux of it, like the point of the voice is it's American Idol if you aren't based on your physical appearance. If you're not that great looking, but you have a great voice, we're going to judge you with our backs turned to you. And Alter Ego now is it's I think I don't know the exact catchphrase, the exact tagline for it, but it's basically for people who aren't comfortable in their bodies, for people who are more comfortable as their online avatar than they are in their real bodies. So people perform in this like VR room thing, and it's like projected as some like alien or some like giant cat or some whatever singing the song instead. Like, and it's hosted by Grimes and will.i.am and all these crazy sci-fi creepy people, and that's just that's a real thing. It's people's real lives, their personality, their persona, who they really are they don't identify with their physical body anymore. Who they really are is the person they are when they turn their phone on, or when they turn the computer on, or they log in, and that's ripped right out of the Matrix. I mean, that's like, I don't know. It's creepy, and also, but just with the entity, because we're talking aliens and demons, and all kinds of weird stuff. It's the ingredients you'd want to take back the world, to take a grip over the mortal world and or possess people. It sounds so crazy for me to say that their goal might be mass possession, because it's just like, but that's just what it is, and that's just like. I mean, that's not what it is, but that's just what it looks like. That's just like that's the recipe, And it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean they're from hell and they work for Satan. It just means they're entities that they want bodies. Especially like if we get into electricity, the weirdness behind like their entities' only means of contact with us, it seems to be through technology, electricity. Like we mentioned it before, but like every time we invent a new form of electricity, whether it's the radio or the telegraph or anything, the computer, it's what we do first is like we like use it to watch porn and that kind of stuff, and we use it to talk to aliens or talk to entities or contact the dead.
Yeah.
And that's so. What if the metaverse is not only like creating this, like we're not only losing the grips over this world, but we're entering a world where they have dominion over. Where like if they exist in the electromagnetic spectrum, if they exist in the digital plane, then like, we're going to their home turf now. We're going to become the visiting team. Or like, what if we're misconstruing what happened, what the trajectory of humanity is? And it's like, ESETI and stuff is out there looking for radio waves because they think we're like aliens would be using that. But like humanity is already about to go past that, technologically wise. So like, what if we go into like a super advanced metaverse and we just open up the right door and we find countless alien civilizations in the cloud already, we make contact through the digital plane. And like, I don't know, the things that I meet on the computer, human or otherwise, I'm not sure if they're very angelic beings. I'm not saying they're demons, but they're not always the best things. The trolls might not always be just like shitty people. It might be like something weird out there. NPC, I don't know. There's a lot of rabbit holes we can go through tonight. Fun show, Mike. Like,
yeah, for sure. Great stuff as always. Like I said, please, we're going to wind this down. Fantastic stuff as always. Derek here, good friend of mine, the Nightstocker. Please give his YouTube channel a follow. One day he's going to get to it, and he's going to start making amaze balls of videos. Is going to be blowing our minds like he does every night here. And so please give him a follow. Link is in the description down below. Like I said, this show happened because of him. He called in Saturday and was kind of bringing up this idea of these UFO cults, and he like you said, he watched that show, and it just turns into this. It literally becomes this entirely other conversation based on just an inspiration, and so that's the whole point. So let's continue to inspire each other. My huge thanks to Derek for being here tonight, and give him a follow. Just literally, it just takes you a second. Go down on scroll down, links in the description. Give him a follow on YouTube, so when he does start making content, you absolutely won't miss it. Because let me tell you what, you're not going to want to miss it. So there we go. And,
thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me thank you for giving me an outlet. I just talk shells and I just ramble on, and it's sometimes it's just nice to be able to get these ideas out there without people calling you crazy. But I hope people. I'm afraid I'm going to bust up the computer, so I'm not really reading the chat. I just hope everyone out there is enjoying it and not thinking we're too weird, not thinking I'm rambling too much, but I've had a blast. Really fun night.
Yeah, always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure. So yeah, we're gonna wrap this up, and so please give Derek a follow, and let's do it. Let's get the hell out of here. And the chat loves you as always, man. The chat loves you. Come on now.
Thank you guys. I love you too. It's mutual.
Come on, man. Come on. All right, let's do it. I'm going to smash this button. We're going to get the hell out of here. So it goes like this, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Just come listen. Come hang out. Come YouTube, Rockfin, DLive, Twitter. You can find us all over the damn place. Just search Troubled Minds on the internet. TroubledMinds.org is the official website. Phone numbers there. Discord's there. Join the Discord if you haven't. It's the easiest way to come meet me and all the rest of these great people. And I'm telling you, they seem great on the stream here on when they call in. They're even better when you become friends with them. Come say hi. These people are fantastic. They're very open and welcoming. See what I did there? But basically, just be cool. If you can be just cool and chill, and like let's kick ideas off each other, and not just kind of to just be a good person and expect that again you can be right, but don't forget you can also be wrong. And that's really what this is about. It's about sharing ideas, sharing, and just growing together. And we're going to keep doing it. You can't stop us. You can only hope to contain us. And we get a baseball season. I'm stoked about that. And whatever else. I don't know. Derek, I don't know if you got an outro for us, or you want to tell me whatever you want to tell me.
Yeah, I don't really got anything. I'm not coming from a place of experience or anything. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to believe. I don't know what I believe. That's what tonight's all about. It's just what the hell is going on. Let's just try to get a handle on it, and let's just mainly, first and foremost, let's have fun with it. Like, the bad stuff happens when you take yourself too seriously and you end up in a cult. So let's just have fun with it. Just drink the maybe juice. And again, thank you, Mike. You're doing the aliens work out here, the Lord's work out here. Bringing us all together.
The Raelians. Doing the Raelians work.
The Raelians work, exactly. Yeah.
I appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. All right, so that's what's up. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific. Like I said, you guys, if you're out there listening, again, live or otherwise on the podcast feed, archive, wherever you find the show, basically you're invited. You can be on this show. This is not about me. This is not about Derek. It's about us. Again, I'm me, you're you, together we're us. And it's literally... you start to see, right? You start to see how amazing these conversations can get just by including everybody and getting amazing thoughts from amazing people. So if you have an idea for a show, you want to co-host even for a little bit, a segment, 30 minutes or something, don't worry, you got me. I can ramble on with the best of them. So if you lose track of your thought and need a minute, I can give you a minute. And that's I got your back. So you got my back. You want to be supportive of the show, I definitely got your back. So troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, come say hi. You can reach me at troublemindsradio@gmail.com. And let's do it. Let's get out of here. I don't really have a fancy quote for the outro, but we'll just keep on punching. We'll just keep on doing our thing. And sorry about the internet dying, but hey, it's a live show. No. Shit happens, right? Shit happens, man.
Oh, good.
Absolutely. All right, so that's it.
I'm Googling Apple White quotes right now. I'm seeing if I can find one.
Okay, all right.
Just vamp for 10 seconds.
All right, cool. So that's what's up. If you want to help the show, Rockfin, you can sub up. Twitch, you can sub up. You can sub up on Patreon. Listen to the podcast feed. That's the most. There you go. That's the easiest way. You don't have to spend a dime.
There's no good quotes. They're all too scary. Let's just go with
scary.
They're all way too scary. So let's just go with make maybe juice, not war. You know.
There you go.
Love you guys. Thank you very much.
I'll take it. Make maybe juice, not war. Thanks again to Derek. Thanks again to you guys for listening and making this a special thing. We'll be back tomorrow night. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night, and it's time to howl. Have a great one, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.